teacher's job sounds simple enough, protecting and guiding the next generation. At least, that's what the textbooks say. But in reality, it's mostly just dealing with rowdy kids who'd rather do anything else but listen to a lecture. Solo Pastry stares out at the student flying around on their brooms, realizing pretty quickly that this profession might not be the right fit for him. Welcome to the School of Magic, Orion. It's the top academy in the country, but even here, things aren't always what they seem. Magic is the backbone of this world, used for everything from daily chores to hunting down dangerous monsters. Naturally, the pressure is on for these kids. Solo puts on his best inspiring teacher face, telling Class 2D that they're the future of the world. He's laying on pretty thick. To get their attention, he uses a transformation spell to turn himself into a little bird. He's really trying his best to make the lesson interesting. But the class is a total disaster. Half the students are laughing at him, and the other half are basically having a party in the back of the room. Nobody is paying attention. They're just talking about broom riding and fashion while Solo chirps away at the front. A student named Miko Cecilia interrupts the lesson just to ask which nail polish color is cuter. Solo tries to get back on track, but she's more interested in her magically color-changing nails. Still stuck in his bird form, Solo officially introduces himself as their teacher, though it's clear he's already lost control of the room. Later that night, Solo collapses on his bed. He's completely drained, admitting to himself that he just can't do this. He's frustrated because not a single student listens to a word he says. He's basically a punching bag for a bunch of teenagers. He looks through a teaching guide that tells him to always keep a smile on his face, but he's currently seething behind his glasses. He groans about how much he hates kids. It's obvious they all look down on him, and he knows it. Solo wonders if his attempt at playing the kind, youthful teacher was a total mistake from the start, but then his gaze shifts to a wall covered in documents. He stares at his real workspace, a wall of targets. His actual plan is to eliminate his target quickly and just go home. This teaching gig is just a cover. See, in this world, people are split into those who can use magic and those who can't, and that gap creates a lot of problems. Wizards are taught to use their power for the good of society, like this woman fixing a kid's broken cup with a simple spell. It looks like a dream world, and most people wish they were born with that kind of power. Solo, however, knows the darker side. He knows the world doesn't actually run on pretty words and helpful spells. When power is involved, greed follows. Beneath the surface, people use magic to exploit and threaten others. This guy is begging for his life, offering money just to be spared. But mercy isn't on the menu tonight. A cold, calculating eye watches from the shadows, locking onto his prey. Solo stands there, hooded and hidden. He doesn't feel anything for the person begging in front of him. To him, this is just work. He is number 0, an assassin whose job is to clean up the evil that deserves to be buried. It's a dark profession, but he's the best at it. After finishing a job, he gets a call on an old rotary phone. His employer congratulates him on another successful hit. Solo sits by the window of his cramped room, looking out at the city. He justifies his actions by telling himself he's taking out people who sacrifice lives for experiments. The boss on the other end starts lecturing him about the state of the country, but Solo cuts him off. He's heard the speech 1,000 times before. Solo tells the boss that if a target has been decided, he'll take care of it. No matter who they are, he'll get the job done. That's his pride as an ace. Ironically, using magic to kill would technically make him an evil wizard too, but at least he's an assassin with a steady paycheck. The new mission location is revealed, the Orion School of Magic. Solo liked having a job where he was valued, but this one is an undercover mission. The boss gives him details: infiltrate and wait for instructions. Solo is calm until he hears the catch. To get inside, he has to become a teacher. Solo nearly falls out his window when he hears that part. It's the last thing he expected. He screams in protest, telling the boss there's no way he can be a teacher. But the boss just tells him get it done and hangs up. Solo is stuck. Flash forward 2 weeks, and Solo is walking through the academy halls, completely miserable. He hasn't heard anything from the guild since he started. He thinks about how ridiculous it is for him to be teaching. He has 0 academic experience. Everything he knows about magic, he taught himself in a guild for assassins. As he heads toward the faculty room, he's stopped by a staff member who wants to introduce him to someone. Solo just wants this day to end. It turns out there's a new transfer student joining Class D today. His name is Ibuki, and Solo is caught completely off guard. Ibuki looks at Solo with a cold, intense gaze. He doesn't look like your average student, and Solo can feel the tension immediately. Solo realizes his class of 12 has now grown to 13. He can barely handle the students he already has, so he's not exactly thrilled about a newcomer. He tries to make small talk as they walk through the corridor, asking Ibuki about his last school. He gets a blunt, one-word response. Average. Not a great start. Solo sighs, thinking Ibuki is just another kid who thinks he's better than everyone. But as an elite assassin, he's weirded out. He can't sense any presence from the boy at all. Ibuki puts a finger to his lips, signaling for absolute silence. He's clearly taking this secret meeting very seriously. With a swift motion, he casts a high-level concealment spell to make sure nobody can eavesdrop on them. Solo is genuinely impressed. A kid should be able to pull off magic this advanced. Ibuki drops the student act and bows formally, addressing Solo by his codename, Number 0. Solo can only stare, wondering just who this kid thinks he is. He explains that for the current mission, he's been assigned as Solo's buddy. It's a fancy way of saying he's here to watch Solo's back. Solo is immediately annoyed. He never heard anything about a partner, but a bookie just casually moves the conversation along as if it's no big deal. The bookie closes his eyes, sounding way too mature for his age. He says keeping their information secret is the top priority right now. Solo thinks the kid is irritating, but a bookie doesn't notice. He starts talking about Solo's reputation as a legendary hitman from Kronos. Suddenly, a bookie's professional mask slips. He gets all sparkly-eyed and asks, almost begs, for the honor of shaking Solo's hand. He grabs Solo's hand and starts shaking it like a maniac. He says there isn't a single person in the assassination industry who doesn't know the name Number Zero. Ibuki is full-on fanboying now, listing Solo's stats like he's a professional athlete. Voted most reliable hitman 5 years in a row. This kid has definitely done his homework. He catches himself and tries to regain his composure. He formally apologizes and identifies himself as a member of the Department of Magic's assassination unit. Ibuki gets dead serious again. He warns Solo that failure isn't an option because this is a state-sponsored request. The pressure is officially on. He talks about Kronos, the secret guild that exists to wipe out evil. They aren't officially recognized, but they'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. Ibuki believes they have a superb sense of justice, but Solo isn't buying the heroic speech. He just wants to finish the job and move on. The kid is just honored to be paired with his idol. Solo just sighs, missing the days when he could work alone without a fanboy following him around. Solo puts his teacher mask back on and tells Ibuki he hopes they work well together. Ibuki is practically glowing with excitement. They agree to talk about the details after class ends. For now, they have to keep up the act of being teacher and student. Ibuki is absolutely thrilled. He's been looking forward to this undercover mission ever since he heard Solo had already infiltrated the school. Back in the classroom, Solo introduces the new transfer student. The class is as chaotic as ever, with students whispering and joking about Ibuki. Solo starts to point out Ibuki's seat, but the class is already ignoring him. They're way more interested in the new guy than the lesson. Miko Cecilia jumps up and suggests throwing a welcome party for Ibuki instead of having class. The rest of the students are all for it, much to Solo's annoyance. Miko calls Solo a total downer and a boring teacher. Solo tells Ibuki to just leave her be, but he can see the kid is getting worked up. Ibuki gets a terrifyingly cold look in his eyes and leans in, asking Solo if he should just kill her right now for the insult. Solo panics, whispering for Ibuki to stop. He explains that as assassins, they definitely shouldn't be murdering students in front of an entire class. It would kind of blow their cover. He's sweating, realizing Ibuki is a bit of loose cannon. He tells the transfer student to just go sit down before things get even weirder. Ibuki tells the class that school is a place for studying and that the teacher is right. Miko is genuinely shocked that anyone would actually take Solo's side. Miko laughs it off, saying Ibuki is way too serious. She shows off her navy nails again, telling him that their class doesn't have good grades because they just want to have fun. Ibuki stares at the low-ranking wizard eggs. Miko is offended by the term, but it's clear she's used to being looked down on. The school divides classes by grades, and Class D is at the very bottom. They're basically the dropout class that nobody expects anything from. Solo leans back, listening as Miko says he's just a replacement teacher who's only here because it's his job. She doesn't think he actually cares about them. She mentions that the last teacher quit because they couldn't even bother to remember the students' names. Ibuki just watches the exchange, silent and watchful. Miko gives a final shrug, telling Ibuki that if he's looking for a teacher who's actually looking out for them, he's in the wrong place. Solo doesn't argue. Night falls over the academy, and the scene shifts to the quiet woods outside the school walls. Solo is out on patrol, lantern in hand. Solo is exhausted after another tiring day. He's especially drained because of Ibuki's constant intensity. The kid asks why they have to patrol the woods at night. Ibuki asks Solo if he truly hates the role of teacher. Solo doesn't even hesitate before answering. He goes on a full rant about how much he hates early mornings, grading papers, and those stuffy teacher outfits. He thinks teaching is insanely exhausting and completely impossible for him. To him, assassination is a way better gig. You just get rid of target and get praise and money. Teaching has none of those perks. Ibuki steers the conversation back to their current mission. He wonders what kind of person could be so dangerous that 2 high-level assassins were sent to an ordinary magic school. Ibuki's eyes sharpen as he delivers the truth. The target is an evil wizard. And not just any wizard, but one who is destined to be extremely dangerous. Deep in the forest at night, Solo, Pastry, and Ibuki are tailing someone. Solo recognizes the voice immediately. They peek through trees to get a better look. It's way past curfew, so Solo wonders what she's doing out here. It's Miko Cecilia. She's waving a stick around, shouting at the top of her lungs to become a dragon. The only response she gets is crickets. Miko keeps posing like a magical girl hero. Solo thinks she acts completely different here than she does in class. Ibuki thinks this is the perfect time to take her out since no one's watching. Solo is just stuck on the fact that she's a target. Solo looks at her through his glasses. This girl is really the one he's been sent to kill. Solo can't believe it. To him, Miko is just another ordinary student. Ibuki doesn't seem to share the sentiment. Miko is losing her cool, frustrated that her transformation magic isn't working. The guys just watch her have a total meltdown. Then everything shifts. A massive burst of light and magic energy explodes from her body. The shockwave nearly knocked them off their feet. Something huge is definitely happening inside that smoke. A massive dragon head snakes out of the clouds. This isn't some low-level illusion. Solo's jaw hits the floor. She actually did it. She turned into a real dragon. The dragon lets out a roar, and a massive explosion rocks the entire area. Solo is caught right in the blast zone. Ibuki jumps in front of Solo, throwing up a magical shield just in time to save him. Solo thanks him for the save. Ibuki plays it cool, reminding him that they're partners and he shouldn't let his guard down. But even Ibuki is sweating now. That military-grade barrier he brought for emergencies just shattered in a single hit. The dragon is rampaging, and Ibuki says Miko has completely lost herself. Solo still doesn't understand why she has to die. Ibuki explains the policy known as egg smashing. It's a government policy where they use precognition to find future threats and kill them before they can hatch into villains. Solo's never heard of this. Ibuki tells him it's a top-secret mission to protect the safety of the nation. In a predicted future, Miko is destined to become an evil wizard and murder a massive number of people. Ibuki doesn't care why it happens. He just sees the threat she'll eventually become. He looks Solo dead in the eye and says he'll kill her for the sake of the country's future. It's just his job. Solo looks at the destruction. He can tell she's tapped into a talent way beyond her current limits. Ibuki's already got the cover story ready. They can just say she was attacked by monsters in the middle of the night. The dragon towers over them like a mountain. Ibuki asks Solo if he's ready to finish this here and now. Solo gives him the most deadpan look ever. Nah, I'll pass. Before Ibuki can process that, Solo lunges forward with insane speed. Ibuki can barely track his movement. Ibuki tries to argue that she's evil. Solo points out that right now, she hasn't actually done anything wrong. He looks at his student. To him, she's just a blameless child who worked a little too hard on her own. Solo isn't an executioner. Killing kids is where he draws the line. Ibuki starts screaming about government policy and protecting the future. Solo just brushes him off. Solo puts a hand to his chin. He wonders if they could just teach her better so she never turns evil in the first place. Ibuki is losing his mind. He can't believe Solo is talking about being a teacher at a time like this. And a giant, slitted eye opens up in the darkness. They've finally been spotted. The dragon opens its maw and unleashes a massive blast of energy right at their feet. Ibuki is coughing, barely holding on after that last hit. Solo is still standing, completely unfazed. The dragon hovers above them, looking like a literal god of destruction. Ibuki is pinned to the rocks. It prepares another breath attack. Ibuki knows they won't survive a second round. Solo stepped in front of him, looking totally calm. Ibuki is stunned that number 0 is actually going to do something. Solo tells him he won't kill Miko, but he's not going to let Ibuki die either. Solo flies into the air and delivers a punch so powerful it cancels out the dragon's fire. He's returning a favor for that earlier save. Solo stares, unable to believe what just happened. Even Ibuki is speechless, watching Solo shut down a dragon's attack like it was nothing. Solo faces the massive dark silhouette of the dragon. He begins to recite Miko Cecilia's name and every detail of her appearance. Her indigo eyes, her sky blue hair, telling her to remember who she really is. He even mentions her navy nails, reminding her of a lesson from class about how to undo a transformation by focusing on your original self. The light fades, and Miko returns to human form, looking up at her teacher in total shock. She looks at her hand, touched that he actually remembered her nails. Solo just tells her to close her eyes and forget, treating the whole thing like a bad dream. Miko drifts off, her eyes closing as the last of her magic drains away. Solo looks pretty shaken up by the whole ordeal, wondering if he's actually cut out for this teaching gig. He catches her before she hits the ground. She's completely wiped out from overusing her magic. Ibuki just stands there, giving Solo a look like he's grown a second head. He asks Solo if he has any idea what he's just done by letting a target live. Ibuki starts yelling about breach of contract and their job to eliminate the target. Solo just sighs, saying he can't force himself to do something that feels wrong. The kid is furious, asking if Solo is really just walking away from mission. Solo admits he's never had to cancel a request before, so he's figuring it out as he goes. Ibuki warns him that he's going straight to the higher-ups with this. Solo starts stressing out, realizing that if his guild fires him for this, he's basically finished. Morning breaks over the mountains, and school is about to start. Back in the office, Solo is staring at his notebook, officially panicking about the mess he's made of his career. He's convinced his reputation with the boss is in the trash. You don't just ditch a government-sanctioned job and expect to walk away. He's already imagining his own execution when he hears the door click open. The students start rolling in, and Miko walks in yawning like nothing happened. They're all buzzing about some monster rampage in the mountains last night. Miko laughs it off, telling Solo she had the weirdest dream about being a dragon. He's relieved she doesn't remember a thing. But he can't stop thinking about that look in her eyes from the night before, when she asked if he could be a good teacher. He tells himself that remembering details like her nail polish is just a professional habit from his life as an assassin. But his own past is starting to bubble up. He remembers being a lonely kid in a dark room, just wishing someone, any adult, would actually see him. Looking at Miko and her friends, he realizes his whole journey to becoming a teacher started from that same desperate need for recognition. Miko catches him staring and looks back, curious about what's on his mind. Suddenly, the door swings open and Ibuki marches in, catching Solo off guard. The kid walks right up to his desk with a dead serious expression. Ibuki drops a bombshell. Miko Cecilia's future has officially changed. According to the latest readings, she's no longer destined to become an evil wizard. Solo is stunned, but Ibuki says he doesn't have details. That's just what the bosses told him this morning. It turns out Solo's act of teaching last night actually managed to rewrite the path of the future. Solo thinks he's off the hook, but Ibuki tells him the real work is just beginning. The goal has shifted from killing one girl to changing the futures of the other 11 targets in the class. Ibuki looks around the room, noting that beside him, there are 12 students in Class D who are all under watch. Solo looks at the rest of his rowdy students, realizing they're all potential world destroyers. In the original timeline, these 12 kids were supposed to become the legendary wizards that bring the country to its knees. Ibuki delivers the new orders. Solo isn't supposed to kill them anymore. Instead, he has to teach them well enough to change their destinies. Solo stares blankly, realizing his simple undercover mission just turned into the hardest teaching job in history. Solo's checking out some documents in the faculty room, looking like your average, tired teacher. Then, this other teacher starts cracking up, saying he totally forgot to give Solo the old exam results when he took over the class. He tells Solo not to sweat it though, since Class D is a lost cause anyway, so he should just do whatever he wants. At his desk, Solo's flipping through the papers, reminding himself that his actual job is being a legendary assassin. Then he sees the scores, 2 points, 7 points, 16 points, out of 100. It's a complete disaster. He starts sweating as the weight of it hits him. If these kids really are the future villains who destroy the world, he's got his work cut out for him. He puts on his best fake smile and heads to Class 2D, trying to act like the enthusiastic new guy while announcing they're reviewing the results. The classroom is pure chaos immediately, with students yelling about why they're getting tests back now or laughing at someone's pathetic score. Solo's eyes twitching behind his glasses. He's already over this and realizing he's definitely not a kid person. Looking around, he sees one kid reading a cookbook and another girl casually mixing a suspicious-looking potion right at her desk. He's about to snap his pen in half, thinking there's no way he can actually guide these kids when they're all just goofing off. That's when Ibuki steps up, trying to play the responsible student by telling everyone to pipe down since they're actually in class. One of the guys tells Ibuki to relax, saying they already know they're the bottom of the barrel leftovers of school. The whole class starts cheering, calling Ibuki, Ibobi, and saying they just want to enjoy their school life instead of studying. Solo watches them with a blank stare, thinking they're definitely idiots, but they also seem like just regular, happy teenagers. He catches a glimpse of Miko Cecilia, who's just staring off into space looking completely bored with the whole situation. Later at the boys' dormitory, Ibuki is already at his limit, sighing about how he can't handle the disrespect from the other students. Solo is just chilling on his bed while Ibuki asks him if kids like that could seriously become a national-level threat in the future. Ibuki is getting genuinely heated now, saying he can never forgive the way they look down on Solo. He's practically begging Solo to just use his actual power to shut them up once and for all. Solo stays calm and keeps pouring tea, reminding Ibuki that being a teacher is just an act for the job and that their client is waiting. He explains that the government itself ordered the hit on Class D, and he's actually pretty nervous about meeting his superior. He's hoping if this meeting goes well, he can finally negotiate a way to leave this teaching gig and get back to the guild. They arrive at the meeting spot, where a fancy tea set is already waiting, and a voice thanks them for coming. Suddenly, the room fills with a strange magical glow right over the tea table. Before Solo can even react, a massive, terrifying horde of shadowy monsters erupts out of nowhere, surrounding him completely. He's caught off guard for a second, wondering what the hell is going on. The monsters lunge at him from every side, but Solo's instincts kick in and he starts dodging the first wave of attacks. He quickly realizes there's a never-ending swarm of these things, and he's starting to get the picture of what this is. He pulls up his assassin's hood, deciding he's dealt with plenty of difficult clients like this before. He figures this is just a little test to see if he's actually as good as his reputation says he is. He activates Unbreaking Dawn, and suddenly the space behind him is filled with dozens of magical swords. And he calls out Witch's Arsenal, ready to end this little game in a single move. A massive slash tears through the room, obliterating the monsters while Solo just stands there, making sure he doesn't get dirty. In a blink of an eye, the entire horde is shredded to pieces, and Solo casually notes that he got every single one of them. The dark, monster-filled void vanishes, replaced by a beautiful, sunny field of white roses. Solo looks toward the tea table, where a mysterious figure is waiting for him. A woman with her face hidden by a magical shadow welcomes him, addressing him by his codename, Number 0. She introduces herself as Rose, the one from the Department of Magic who personally requested this mission. Solo takes his seat, noticing that she's using some high-level magic to keep her identity secret. Ibuki shows up to serve more tea, and Rose commends Solo for passing her skill test so flawlessly. She's genuinely impressed, Most wizards can only make a few weapons at a time, but Solo wiped out her entire army in one shot. Solo tries to cut through the small talk, telling her he didn't show up just to be buttered up with praise. Rose, her face still hidden by that magical shadow, gets straight to the point. She wants him to kill the worst possible future. He looks completely baffled. He's a professional killer, not a miracle worker, and playing teacher doesn't seem like part of the job. Rose just brushes off his confusion, telling him he's doing excellent work so far. Solo is sweating, feeling like he's being pushed into something way bigger than he expected. She gestures toward a wall filled with different paintings, and things are about to get a lot more serious. She starts pointing out familiar places, the school, the capital where she lives. Everything looks peaceful and normal in these precognition paintings. But then the mood shifts as she shows him a painting of the country falling into total ruin a few years from now. Solo's eyes go wide when he sees the source of the destruction, a group called the 12 Evil Wizards. Rose explains that the wizard who draws these paintings can see the future as clearly as a photograph. In one of the frames, Solo recognizes a familiar face. It's Maiko Cecilia, but she's all grown up and looks like she's just walked through hell. It turns out every single one of those 12 legendary villains are the current students of his very own Class 2D. Rose admits the magic isn't perfect. They can only see fragments of what's coming, not the whole story. She explains that for years, the government has used these visions to quietly eliminate threats before they ever become a problem. They call it egg smashing, killing potential villains while they're still harmless kids so the country stays safe. Solo finally understands the dark truth. His original mission to assassinate Class D was just another round of egg smashing. But then Rose reveals something impossible. There's been a major glitch in the prophecy. She shows him a new painting where the destruction has vanished, and Maiko is nowhere to be found among the villains. She points right at Solo and tells him that he's the one who single-handedly changed her destiny. Solo's stunned, thinking back to the moment he decided to save her instead of taking her out. Rose then shows him another painting of a classroom labeled 3D, representing school 1 year into the future. The room is completely empty, and Solo asks the obvious question. Does that mean everyone is gone? Rose confirms it. In the original timeline, every single student in Class D was destined to drop out and disappear. And in that timeline, it would go on to become the monsters that destroy everything. But in the new future Solo created, Maiko didn't drop out. She's still there a year later, sitting in her seat with a smile. Rose's theory is simple. If the students stay in school, they'll never turn into the evil wizards. Because Solo stepped in during Maiko's dragon rampage, she didn't lose hope and drop out, which effectively saved the future. She tells him she's never seen anything like this before. He changed the world without having to kill a single person. So her new request is this. Stop the rest of the students from dropping out, and you'll kill the villains of the future before they're even born. Solo thinks the whole thing is absolutely absurd. He's a legendary assassin being asked to act like a guidance counselor. Rose just laughs, pointing out that as their teacher, he's in the best possible spot to keep them from falling off the deep end. She tells him he can constantly monitor and manage their lives, but Solo's just looking at her like she's lost her mind. The bookie finally pipes up, asking if there's really no other way to handle the situation. Rose admits they could just go back to the old way. There are too many variables this time, and egg smashing might not be the best move. And she lets her guard down for a second, admitting that she actually doesn't want to kill those kids if she can avoid it. Both Solo and Ibuki look surprised to hear a high-ranking official sound so human. She says she's always struggled with the idea that the only way to protect the country is by getting her hands dirty with children's lives. She wants to try this new path, protecting both the kids and country's future at the same time. She mentions how Solo's own report said he couldn't kill a blameless child, and it seems she shares that sentiment. But she leaves him with a chilling warning. The survival of Class D is now entirely his responsibility. If he can't stop them from dropping out, she'll be forced to go back to the original plan and wipe every single one of them off the face of the earth. Rose breaks the news. The order to take out Class D is officially on ice. Solo can't wrap his head around it. The higher-ups are actually pausing the hit. Before he can ask any follow-up questions, Rose vanishes into a cloud of smoke. She'll leave him stuck with Ibuki, who's supposed to be his new partner in this mess. A sudden magical force sweeps Solo off his feet as the secret meeting room dissolves. Rose's last warning hangs in the air. Break the contract, and there will be consequences. She isn't kidding either. If he fails, she's going to dismantle his entire guild. The petals settle, and Solo finds himself standing alone in the empty courtyard. He ends up back in his room, collapsing onto the floor from sheer mental exhaustion. Face planted on a rug, Solo realizes just how deep of a hole he's in. Ibuki tries to check on him, but Solo is too busy worrying about his guild getting crushed. He finally looks up and tells Ibuki that if they're going to pull this off, they have to do it together. Ibuki's eyes practically turn into stars at the thought of working with his idol. Solo, on the other hand, is significantly less enthusiastic about the whole arrangement. Ibuki goes full soldier mode, claiming he's just a tool for the mission with zero personal feelings. Solo finds it hard to believe Rose actually cares about these kids, regardless of what she says. Then Ibuki drops a bomb. He's perfectly willing to kill every one of them if the plan fails. He even says he respects Solo's soft heart, which just makes the teacher feel even more awkward. Their heavy conversation is cut short by a loud knock at the door. Solo and Ibuki look up to find a group of students standing right there. They're only there for Ibuki, though, completely ignoring Solo like he's part of the furniture. The legendary assassin watches helplessly as his partner gets kidnapped by his own students. It turns out the whole class was waiting outside to throw Ibuki a proper welcome. They've got a whole picnic spread set up under a tree, just a new guy. Kai starts things off by offering up some homemade cookies he baked himself. Azu isn't far behind, shoving a bottle of her special beauty potion in his face. Dante tells him to watch out, since Azu is notorious for using people as guinea pigs. Suddenly, it's a free-for-all of everyone trying to give Ibuki their tokens of friendship. The kid is quickly losing a fight against a mountain of random gifts. Even Miko Cecilia gets in on the action, handing over her favorite bottle of nail polish. She gives him a wink and says everyone in the class really wants to be his friend. Watching from a distance, Solo tries to keep his guard up, remembering these kids are targets. The students laugh and joke about how having their boring teacher around would just ruin fun. They talk about Solo like he's a total pushover who doesn't even realize they're making fun of him. Ibuki clearly isn't enjoying the trash talk, but he stays quiet as the party continues. Solo sits on the balcony above them, listening to the very people he might have to kill. He stares at his hand, the weight of the mission starting to feel much heavier than any blade. He tells himself he's only doing this for his own survival, not for the sake of the kids. As far as he's concerned, they're just a bunch of annoying brats he has to manage. But then he looks at the pile of gifts, the cookies, the potion, even the nail polish. He realizes they must have spent the whole morning getting everything ready for Ibuki. His thoughts are interrupted when the class speak teacher shows up to ruin the mood. Solo meets with the vice principal, who thanks him for being such a great buffer. After all, having failing students around makes everyone else look better. Solo tries to keep his cool, but it's clear the school just sees his class as a dumping ground for losers. The guy's twisted logic makes Solo sick. He actually thinks looking down on others brings peace of mind. Later, Toturi brings over her token of friendship, a special fire poppy she's been trying to grow. She explains that it's a rare flower that only blooms with magic, and she's determined to make it work. The other students whisper that it's an impossible task for someone Class D. The Class B teacher laughs, mocking them for even trying such an advanced magic assignment. Solo watches as Toturi prepares to cast her spell, her face full of determination. A bright light suddenly erupts from the flower as Toturi swings her wand. The plant begins to shake and glow, far beyond what anyone expected. The flower explodes into a massive, shimmering display of light that fills the entire area. The Class B teacher is left speechless, unable to believe a dropout could produce such powerful magic. The students celebrate their first real victory, cheering for Toturi's incredible success. Toturi is over the moon, her hard work finally paying off in front of everyone. Later that night, Ibuki is struggling to carry the mountain of gifts the students gave him. He complains about the extra junk, but Solo can tell he's secretly touched by the gesture. Ibuki confronts Solo, asking if that spectacular flower display was actually his doing. Solo tries to play it off, claiming he just wanted to shut the annoying teacher up for a bit. Ibuki is impressed, realizing Solo used a high-level stealth technique to cast a magic through the student. Suddenly, Miko Cecilia appears from the shadows, surprising both of them. She confirms her suspicions. Solo isn't the boring, plain teacher he pretends to be. Miko admits she never actually saw Toturi succeed at casting that spell before. Solo starts to sweat, realizing his secret might be out sooner than he planned. Miko thanks him, admitting that his thoughtfulness really saved the mood for the whole class. She mentions how crushed Toturi would have been if she had failed in front of the other teacher. She spins around and heads off, leaving Solo and Ibuki alone in the hallway. Solo tells Ibuki to get used to the disrespect, since it's all part of their cover. He looks at the prophecy paintings in his mind, knowing these kids are destined for darkness. He reminds Ibuki that their real job is to make sure nobody drops out Class D. Ibuki asks if any other students have been flagged for bad grades or behavior recently. The school looms over them, a massive place full of potential problems for the assassin-turned-teacher. Solo realizes he spent so much time worrying about the targets that he didn't actually look into the individual students. Miko suddenly comes running back, looking completely panicked. She asks if what everyone is saying about Xiao is true. Solo is confused. He doesn't even recognize the name Xiao Shahar. Miko is shocked that their own teacher forgot one of his students. Solo realizes Xiao hasn't shown up to class even once since he took over. Xiao Shahar, student number 01, is a complete mystery to him. And then the bombshell drops. The class president is about to be expelled. Solo and Ibuki are left stunned, facing their first major crisis in the mission. The school bell rings through the quiet grounds of Orion. Someone is busy scratching a cat behind the ears, and a little guy seems to be loving every second of it. It's Xiao Shahar, the class president who never actually makes it to class. He looks pretty bored for someone currently playing truant. A soft voice whispers to this guy, "I miss you." Meanwhile, Solo walks through the grand halls with his assistant Ibuki and their classmate Miko. They stop by the fountain, trying to figure out their next move. Solo is playing the part of the happy-go-lucky teacher perfectly, laughing off Ibuki's serious attitude. Maiko comes running up, looking like she just heard some bad news. Turns out, the vice principal is considering expelling Xiao Shahar for skipping too many classes. Maiko is upset by the news, while Solo tries to keep a straight face despite the setback. Solo's job is to keep these kids from dropping out and turning evil. Ibuki asks what kind of person this Xiao guy even is. Xiao is student number 1, the top of the food chain in Class D, even if he's never there. Maiko explains that Xiao hasn't shown up for a single class since the school year started. Solo and Ibuki exchange a private look. Ibuki uses magic to keep their conversation hidden from Maiko. Solo decides they need to find Xiao and talk some sense into him. Maiko is all for it, her eyes lighting up at the idea. Solo wonders if he's taking this teacher gig a bit too seriously for a world-class assassin. Maiko jumps in, insisting she wants to help for Xiao's sake. Ibuki asks why a transfer student like her cares so much. Maiko gets flustered and says it's her duty as a classmate. Ibuki puts on a smug grin and claims his dream is to become a teacher himself, so he wants to watch Solo work. Maiko buys the lie, while Solo just smiles through the cringe. He tells Maiko they'd really appreciate her help since they don't know Xiao. The second Maiko turns back, Solo's smile drops. He thinks Ibuki is a brat, and Ibuki asks how long he's going to keep up the kind teacher act. Solo tells him it's better for the cover if he stays in character, especially since people already look down on them. He tells Ibuki to try and fit in with the rest of Class D instead of acting like he's above everyone. Ibuki isn't a fan of the idea. He'd rather just complete the mission than make friends with the targets. He admits, a bit awkwardly, that he's never actually had a friend before. Since he was trained as an assassin from a young age, the concept of hanging out is completely foreign to him. Solo is a bit surprised by the honesty. They catch up to Maiko, who is ready to give it her all. Solo just hopes they can find the kid before the future goes off the rails. The search begins, as they weave through the crowds of students in the main halls. They check the library and a garden, asking everyone they see if they've spotted the class president. But after hours of searching, there's no sign of him. The mood starts to get a little gloomy. Maiko points out that students aren't even allowed to leave campus on weekdays, so he has to be around here somewhere. She's seen him wandering the grounds before, acting like he owns the place. It's a big school, though Orion has been standing for 300 years, and it's full of hiding spots. Maiko explains how the ranking system works. Your student number tells everyone exactly how good your grades are. Xiao is number 1 because he had the best scores in the entire year, despite his attitude. Ibuki likes the sound of a system based entirely on merit. Then Maiko realizes Ibuki is number 13, the very bottom of the list. Ibuki quickly blames it on being a transfer student. It's weird. A genius like Xiao should be in class, and not stuck with the failures in Class D. Solo had tried asking the other teachers about him, but nobody seems to know anything about the kid's personal life. Suddenly, Maiko stops and points. She's finally spotted him. They see Xiao in the distance, but he's not alone. It looks like he's caught in the middle of a fight. A group of third-year students has him cornered, claiming he bumped into them and got their uniforms dirty. Xiao gives a half-hearted apology, but the upperclassmen aren't interested in making peace. They pull out a wand, ready to teach him a lesson. Earth snakes. The ground erupts, and massive stone serpents lash out at the bullies. Solo watches from the sidelines, sweating bullets. He knows that if this fight continues, Xiao will get expelled before he can even start his mission. Maiko doesn't seem surprised at all. She points out that Xiao is the top-ranked student in their class, regardless of his behavior. Xiao just smirks at the upperclassmen. Did you really think I meant I was only number 1 in Class D? He leaps in the air, his cape fluttering as he prepares his next spell, Lull of Venus. It turned out he was the top student in the entire school during his first year. A massive explosion of rock and debris follows, completely overwhelming the third years. Maiko explains that some ordinary upperclassmen never stood a chance. Xiao only ended up in Class D after some major incident back then. As the dust settles, Xiao lands gracefully. Solo and Maiko can only watch in silence as the kid stands over the defeated bullies. Solo realizes that a genius ending up in a failure class usually means the kid is a real problem child. Xiao spots Maiko and breaks into a huge grin. Jo, Miiko. It's been a while. The cheerful greeting is such a contrast to his previous coldness that Solo and Ibuki are left completely confused. Solo clears his throat and steps forward to introduce himself as the new homeroom teacher. Xiao looks him up and down, clearly unimpressed. The kid suddenly panics, realizing he completely forgot to introduce himself in all the excitement. My name is Xiao. Nice to meet you, Mr. Solo. He's surprisingly polite, though he still can't believe Solo is actually a teacher. Solo whispers to himself, wondering if the kid might actually be a nice guy after all. Xiao's attention quickly shifts to Ibuki, who is standing nearby with his usual straight face. He gives Ibuki a friendly pat on the back, saying he seems like a cool guy. It's the first time they've ever met. To break the ice, Xiao pulls out a picture of a cat. This is for my kitty photo collection. Ibuki just stares at it, saying he prefers dogs. Solo can already tell that Xiao is getting on Ibuki's nerves. Maiko, meanwhile, is just staring at Xiao in disbelief. Xiao doesn't miss a beat and brings up the rumors. More importantly, what's this about me dropping out? He admits that if he cuts class anymore, the school is definitely going to expel him. Solo puts on his best encouraging teacher face, asking Xiao if there's any reason he can't come to class so they can solve it together. Xiao just laughs. Aren't you passionate, Mr. Solo? He finds his sudden concern a bit unexpected. He sits down on the stairs and confesses that he's just been playing hooky on his own. Even so, I'm fine with dropping out. The blunt admission leaves Maiko and Solo completely stunned. Xiao looks away, his expression turning cold. After all, school is boring. He clarifies that he doesn't hate Class D, but the lessons themselves are just a waste of his time. None of the teachers here teach what I want to learn. His eye narrows as he says that staying at Orion School of Magic has no meaning for him anymore. Solo doesn't back down. He looks Xiao in the eye and asks what magic he actually wants to learn. Xiao explains that he's looking for some incredibly difficult magic that isn't found in any textbook or library. He claims that not even the principal or the vice principal know how to use it. Maiko and Ibuki look like they can't believe what they're hearing. Solo doesn't skip a beat. He beams at Xiao and offers a deal. If I can teach you that magic, will you promise to come to class? Xiao is skeptical. He asks Solo if he's really more than just some new faculty member who thinks he knows everything. Maiko and Ibuki are frozen in shock, wondering what Solo is even thinking. Xiao lets out a loud laugh. You're pretty pushy, Teach, even though you look so plain on the outside. He decides to give Solo a chance and tells them all to follow him. They trek deep into the woods until they come across a small grave. Solo asks what they're looking at. Xiao explains it's the grave of an old cat named Anpan who died a few months ago. The playful delinquent is gone, replaced by someone with a very heavy secret. Xiao looks Solo right in the eye. Teach me the magic to bring friends back from the dead. Ibuki is the first to snap, shouting in disbelief. What on earth are you saying? Xiao just tells him to pipe down. The magic to bring back the dead is one of the 3 great magic taboos. The revelation hangs in the air, weighted with danger. Such magic is strictly forbidden by law. Ibuki tries to talk sense into Xiao, reminding him that even learning about such taboos is prohibited and controlled by the government. Xiao just brushes him off, calling him too serious. Xiao looks at Solo with a mixture of hope and skepticism. He's certain that a mere school instructor couldn't possibly possess such forbidden knowledge. I know, right? Xiao lets out a hollow laugh, his grin not reaching his eyes. He admits he was just asking, knowing full well what the answer would likely be. He turns away from them, looking back at the small grave one last time. To him, there's no reason to stay at a school that can't give him what he truly desires. So I'll go ahead and quit school. Okay then, Teach. With a casual wave, Xiao starts walking away, seemingly finished with the conversation. Maiko calls out to him, but Xiao doesn't stop. Ibuki watches him go, his expression grim. He warns Solo that the boy is dangerous. Solo remains silent, his gaze fixed on Xiao's retreating figure. Ibuki realizes that while Maiko might become a problem, someone like Xiao, who is actively seeking the ultimate taboos, is on a whole different level. Solo suddenly speaks up, his voice calm and steady. How about it then? Would you like to resurrect your friend with me? Xiao stops his tracks, his single visible eye widening in shock. Xiao and Maiko stare at Solo, stunned by his bold claim. Ibuki looks at his master, wondering what kind of game he is playing now. Solo just gives him a small, unreadable smile. Ibuki's mind begins to race. He knows Solo isn't just an excellent wizard with incredible magic power. He's an excellent assassin, whose reputation precedes him. He recalls the witch's arsenal magic Solo showed them earlier. While it's a common offensive type, Ibuki is certain that Solo is hiding far more power than he lets on. He is a man of deep, dangerous secrets. Ibuki's mind is racing. Even if this guy is a legendary assassin, how could he possibly know about the forbidden magic taboos? Solo just flashes a grin. He tells Xiao that teaching this kind of thing is exactly what a teacher is supposed to do. The group heads out to a place called Torial 2. It's the closest major town to the school, making it the go-to spot for the students. Maiko is having the time of her life, practically skipping through the streets while Xiao and Ibuki follow behind. Ibuki, on the other hand, is still on edge about this whole extracurricular lesson. The town is packed and full of energy, exactly what you'd expect from a place like this. Solo puts on his best fake happy teacher face and reminds them they're not just here to play around. But the students immediately get distracted, with Xiao playing with cats and Maiko eyeing some new jewelry. Ibuki looks like he's already over the day. He pulls Solo aside, asking if he's seriously going to teach a taboo to a kid who's destined to become a major villain. He's terrified that giving Xiao this kind of knowledge is just asking for disaster. Solo drops the act for a second, coldly stating that he doesn't care about the nation's future since he lives in a world where he could die any day. Her response leaves Ibuki completely speechless. Xiao suddenly sneaks up on them, and Solo immediately snaps back into his cheerful persona. Xiao just laughs it off, acting like they're all best friends now. Ibuki is having none of it, since they definitely weren't friends 5 minutes ago. He wonders why Xiao even bothered tagging along while Maiko gets lost in a perfume shop. To get down to business, as Solo explains, they need a bunch of specific magical materials for this ritual. They start browsing through the local shops looking for supplies. Xiao is genuinely hyped about the idea of bringing things back to life, but Solo makes him promise to actually show up to class first. Solo leans in and whispers that he's got a plan. Next thing you know, Ibuki is stuck carrying a mountain of bags because Maiko went overboard. They manage to gather the goods, flower crystals, ogre eyes, and special tree fruits. Xiao and Ibuki figure that should be everything on the shopping list. Maiko is totally wiped out, and Solo wanders off to prepare himself, which sounds suspicious. Ibuki finds it weird that they found all these supposedly taboo ingredients so easily in a normal shop. Maiko is starting to have her doubts too, wondering if this random junk can really resurrect a cat. Ibuki knows the 3 great taboos are world-ending levels of dangerous. Xiao agrees, knowing it's not something to take lightly. He starts imagining some super complex, dark ritual, but Maiko thinks he's way too chill about the whole thing. She's worried they're going to get raided by the magic police for even trying this. Xiao gets a serious look in his eye and asks Maiko if she honestly believes the teacher is going to follow through. Maiko is stunned and asks why he even came if he thought the teacher was lying. Xiao admits he just thought the whole situation seemed interesting. He figures if Solo actually does it, then it's a total win. Maiko can't believe he's taking this chance after hating teachers for so long. Xiao teases her, asking if she's starting to like the guy, which Maiko finds absolutely disgusting. She finds Solo's constant smiling way too creepy to be normal. As far as she's concerned, he's just a bad teacher. Solo finally shows back up, grinning as usual. His big preparation was just buying a bottle of booze. He tells the group they need to find a place where they won't be spotted. He points them north of town, toward a cavern with a lot of water. Solo leans in with a devious grin, saying it's finally time to start their little practicum on forbidden magic. They arrive at the Torialta Caverns, a secluded spot that's perfect for doing things they shouldn't be doing. Inside, the cavern is flooded, but Solo's magic lets everyone stand right on the surface of the water. Miko is practically bouncing, amazed she can walk on water, but Solo warns her to stay still or she'll sink. Ibuki is definitely not having fun, worried that even resurrecting a cat is a massive crime they'll get arrested for. Solo just gives him a cold look and says they'll be fine as long as they don't get caught. He gets right to work, telling the students to offer up the ingredients they bought in a specific order. He reveals the name of this ancient resurrection magic, Witches' Reunion. Solo explains that witches were an ancient tribe with way more power than any modern human wizard. He tells a story about a grieving witch who created this spell just to see a loved one again. Miko nods, having heard the legends. Xiao looks down, clearly thinking about someone he's lost. Solo says that in witch culture, the dead were buried at sea, and this ritual uses the traces of that old magic. He finishes pouring the alcohol into the water and tells Xiao that the rest of the spell is entirely in his hands. He explains that only someone with an incredibly strong desire to see the dead can make this ritual actually work. Xiao pulls out a ribbon he had tied to his pet cat, Anpan, using it as the physical link for the soul. Solo tells him to offer it up, promising he can have it back once they're done. He tells Xiao to chant the spell while picturing the one he wants to see, their face, their voice, and their name. Xiao focuses with everything he's got, desperately wishing for a return he's been hoping for forever. Lets it rip, shouting, "Lull of Venus," as his eyes glow with power. A massive explosion of energy erupts, sending water flying and leaving Miko and Ibuki completely stunned. In the middle of the mess, a tiny glowing light starts to flicker above the water. Solo is genuinely impressed, telling Xiao he successfully summoned the soul of the departed. He pulls out a box with a sleeping cat inside and tells Xiao there's just one more thing to do. Xiao's face goes pale when the realization hits. The soul needs a fresh body to live in. Solo explains that they need a sacrifice with a similar body to the one they're bringing back. Miko is horrified when she realizes Solo snatched the cat Xiao was playing with in town just to use it as a sacrifice. Solo hands Xiao a dagger and tells him he has to be the one to kill the cat, or the spell won't work. Ibuki looks ready to snap. Solo just laughs at them, asking why they're so shocked that forbidden magic has such a dark price. He stares Xiao down, telling him this is what resurrection magic actually looks like. Xiao is sweating, frozen with hesitation as Solo tells him to just go for it. Solo explains that while the ritual is simple, it's exactly why it was banned. Most humans just aren't strong enough to handle it. He baits Xiao, reminding him he used to be the top student and telling him to show them what he's really got. Miko screams for him to stop, arguing that if even top wizards find this hard, there's no way a student can do it. Solo just laughs her off, saying he only promised to teach them magic, not make sure Xiao could actually pull it off. Xiao grits his teeth, his hands shaking as he holds the knife over the sleeping cat. Solo keeps leaning in, asking Xiao if he's really going to back out after coming this far to see his friend. He pulls out a teaching manual and jokes that a teacher's job is just to provide the lessons, not do the work for the kids. Ibuki has seen enough and rushes forward to stop Xiao before he does something he'll regret. Xiao looks down at the cat and softly mentions that cats hate water, worrying that it'll be scared when it wakes up. The ritual comes to a grinding halt as they stand in the quiet cavern. Ibuki demands to know if Solo knew this was how it would end up, and Solo admits that he pretty much did. He's livid, asking Solo what he would have done if Xiao actually killed the cat, but Solo just casually says that success wasn't even possible. Solo points out that Xiao's kind nature was obvious when he took them to his pet's grave, and there was no way he would ever actually kill Cat. Ibuki is confused, questioning why Solo would even bother teaching the spell if it wouldn't result in the cat being resurrected. Solo shrugged it off, arguing that the deal was simply to teach them magic, so his part of the bargain is already fulfilled. He smiles, thinking the request is much simpler than expected since the actual result of the magic doesn't even matter to him. Ibuki has a bad feeling that Xiao isn't going to show up to class after being pushed this far. Solo is genuinely shocked by the thought. Solo starts yelling about how this is a professional job and that he's completed his side of the contract, so he expects his payment. As they walk back towards the cave entrance, Solo starts to realize that dealing with a child isn't as straightforward as a business contract. Xiao suddenly speaks up, catching everyone off guard as Solo tells Ibuki to stop grabbing his shoulder. Xiao looks down with a grim, intense expression, asking if he can pose just one more question. He asks if the sacrifice has to be something closely related to the person he's trying to bring back from the dead. Xiao reveals that the person he truly wants to resurrect was a boy just like him, same age, and even a bit shorter. Solo is taken back, confused about where Xiao is going with this line of questioning. Xiao clarifies that the spell he wanted to learn wasn't for his cat, but for a human friend he lost. He holds up the ribbon, revealing that it actually belonged to his friend who died only a year ago. In a sudden, terrifying move, Xiao holds his dagger to Ibuki's throat and asks if he can use him as the sacrifice instead. Solo breaks into a cold sweat, realizing that this brat might actually be a lot more dangerous than he anticipated. Zhao's got Ibuki in a chokehold, casually wondering if he should just use him as the sacrifice right now. Ibuki isn't even flinching, but Zhao's looking like he's ready to pull the trigger on the ritual. Maiko finally pieces it together. The friend Zhao's trying to bring back has been dead for an entire year. Solo's hanging back, trying to figure out how to shut this down without getting Xiao expelled for good. Xiao isn't having it. He snaps at the teacher, telling him to just shut up and watch what he can do. Solo's actually surprised. Usually, his students don't get this bold with him. The teacher realizes he might have struck a nerve, but it's too late. Zhao's magic is starting to redline. Zhao is convinced he's got this, completely losing himself in the power of the forbidden spell. Suddenly, a massive water golem explodes out of the ritual circle, and Maiko straight up loses it. The thing slams its fist down, sending a massive wave through the room while Solo stands his ground. Solo identifies the monster as a golem, a mindless pile of magic sludge that's starving for a sacrifice. He realizes Xiao has entered a magic trance, just like the dragon incident with Maiko earlier. The raw power coming off the kid is insane, and Solo knows he has to be careful with his next move. Zhao's eye starts glowing with a weird star pattern as his body begins to strain under the pressure. The golem lets out a roar, demanding its payment to complete the contract. The whole place erupts as the magic water goes completely out of control. The flood carries Ibuki and Maiko away. Solo stays on his feet, realizing the situation just got a lot worse. He tells Ibuki to keep the others safe while he stays behind a deal with a giant puddle by himself. Ibuki can barely believe the teacher is just going to solo a monster like that. Solo gives him a quick grin and a thumbs up, telling him he's counting on his partner. Ibuki watches him disappear into the chaos as they get sucked further into the tunnels. A while later, the three students wash up on shore, soaked and exhausted. They've ended up in the depths, a massive underground cavern filled with glowing ruins and mushrooms. Ibuki's coughing up water, trusting that Solo won't be taken down by a simple golem. Maiko's just relieved they're still breathing, even if she's lost a robe in a flood. She asks where the hell they are, but Ibuki's just as lost as she is. Xiao is still out cold. Maiko figures he completely drained his mana tank during the ritual. Even though he's unconscious, she starts giving him a piece of her mind for almost getting him killed. Once she calms down, Ibuki asks the question on his mind. Who exactly is Luca? Maiko's surprised he caught that name, but she knows it's time to fill him in on the tragedy. She explains that Luca wasn't just a friend. He was Zhao's biggest rival back in the day. Both of them were the top students of their year, always buried in books and competing for first place. Maiko remembers them from their first year at Orion, along with other classmates like Azu and Dante. They weren't just nerds, though. They were actually decent guys who spent their breaks feeding the local cats. They were the kind of duo everyone thought would go far together in a magic world. But then everything went south during a magic class when a monster attacked and killed Luca on the spot. That was the day Xiao changed. He stopped showing up to class and his grades tanked. He blamed the teachers for letting it happen, and his constant outbursts eventually got him kicked down Class D. Maiko realizes he never moved on. He just went quiet so he could find a way to bring his friend back in secret. Xiao finally wakes up and tells her to pipe down. He's heard enough about his own history. Ibuki doesn't let it go, asking him straight up why he lied about the whole witches' reunion thing. Xiao just looks away, admitting he was too proud to tell the truth to a teacher he didn't even know. Xiao admits he just didn't feel like explaining himself to a teacher he'd only just met, and honestly, wanting to see his friend again wasn't a lie. Ibuki points out that his own pet died of old age, so he was able to say goodbye without any regrets, unlike Xiao. Xiao's caught off guard, finally apologizing to Ibuki while admitting he's not even sure why he tried to sacrifice him in the first place. The grief is still heavy, though. Xiao can't shake the feeling that he still has so much to talk about with Luca. Ever since they were kids, they were always together. Now that Luca's gone, School just feels completely meaningless to him. Maiko can only watch, feeling the weight of Zhao's loss as he finally lets his guard down. But Ibuki isn't here for the pity party. He looks Xiao dead in the eye and tells him his whole obsession is just plain stupid. Maiko is absolutely floored that the usually quiet Ibuki would say something that harsh. Ibuki doubles down, calling Xiao a coward for continually clinging on to someone who's already dead. He's been thinking about it, and he asks the one question Xiao never wanted to hear. Why couldn't he have prevented Luca's death himself? He points out that if Xiao had been strong enough to rescue his friend, Luca wouldn't have died in the first place. Ibuki's brutal truth bomb hit home. It wasn't the teacher's fault, it was Zhao's own lack of ability that day. He tells Xiao he's just pushing the blame on others instead of reflecting on his own weakness. Xiao loses it, screaming at Ibuki to shut up as the air around him starts to crackle with dangerous magic. Ibuki doesn't back down. He challenges Xiao to a wager right then and there. If Xiao wants to quit school so badly, then he has to fight for it. If Xiao wins, Ibuki will let himself be the sacrifice. But if Ibuki wins, Xiao has to drop the ritual and come back to class like a normal student. Ibuki pulls out his wand, admitting he actually wants to help Mr. Solo with his work. The cave explodes with magical energy as the two students prepare to clash for real. Ibuki has something personal he wants to confirm, and he's not going to hold anything back. He gives Xiao a cold smirk, asking the former #1 student if he's actually scared of losing to number 13. Maiko is losing her mind in the background, wondering why on earth these two idiots are actually trying to kill each other now. Maiko Cecilia introduces herself as student number 9 in class 2D. She's just a normal girl who mostly cares about doing her nails. She explains that they're currently in one of Mr. Solo's extracurricular lessons. The topic is the Witch's Reunion, a legendary spell meant to bring the dead back to life. But things went south fast. Xiao used that forbidden magic to summon a massive water golem, and now their teacher is nowhere to be found. Maiko runs for her life as the cavern explodes around her. She's definitely not getting paid enough for this. Meanwhile, Xiao and Ibuki are locked in a heated standoff. Both students are already exhausted, standing amidst the craters of their previous exchange. Zhao's eye glints with a strange star pattern as he prepares his next move. He whispers a command for the lull of Venus. He unleashes his Knight of the Devilish Winds, sending lethal blades of air cutting through the stone floor. Maiko cowers in the background, feeling the sheer force of magic shockwaves even from a distance. Ibuki remains calm, dodging the wind blades with ease. He admits that Xiao is pretty capable with wind magic. Xiao looks down on him, calling Ibuki's efforts nothing more than light breeze magic. Ibuki counters instantly with a massive electrical beam, blasting the ground where Xiao was standing. Maiko is at her limit, hiding behind a rock and regretting every life choice that led her here. She only came because they've been friends since their first year. She thinks back to Solo Pastry, wondering what their teacher is actually up to while everything falls apart. She remembers a weird dream where he saved her after she'd somehow turned into a dragon. It felt strangely real. Another explosion shakes the cave, snapping her back to reality. She's worried about what to do with these two while Solo is missing in action. The duel continues, and Maiko is shocked that Ibuki can go toe-to-toe with someone as naturally talented as Xiao. Ibuki levels his wand with a cold expression. Xiao starts to realize that this guy isn't just some random transfer student. Xiao notices the way Ibuki moves. It's the posture of someone who survived real combat, not just classroom duels. Xiao grits his teeth, realizing he might actually lose this. Ibuki's electricity magic is a total nightmare to deal with. It reminds him of his old friend Luca, who also struggled against lightning. Luca was always better at earth and stone magic. He slips into a memory of them as kids, when Luca used to ask him what his dream for the future was. Back at the orphanage, Luca wanted to join the Wizard Knights just to have fun and finally get out of that place. They both looked up to the knights who fought for the country, even if the selection process was notoriously brutal. Young Xiao didn't want to be left behind, so he promised to join too. They made a competition to see who'd become the top knight. Luca smiled, telling him not to lose. They knew they'd have to study hard and save every cent to make their dream happen. Back in the present, Xiao reflects on how Luca was his greatest rival and best friend. He just wants to see that smile one more time. He knows the ritual he's performing is evil, but he doesn't care anymore. He just wants his friend back. Ibuki watches him closely, acknowledging that Zhao's raw magical power is likely even higher than his own. But something is off. Usually, a wizard's eyes sparkle like stars when they cast, but Zhao's look different. He remembers that peculiar star pattern in Zhao's eye from before. He wonders if that's the mark of a burgeoning evil wizard. Ibuki needs to be sure. He wonders if he just misjudged what he saw for a split second. He gets lost in thought about magic trances, realizing he needs to adjust his own output so he doesn't accidentally kill his classmate. Xiao doesn't give him any time to think, launching a massive boulder straight at his head. Xiao taunts him, telling Ibuki to use his electricity for Real. He's fully prepared to turn Ibuki into a sacrifice for the ritual. Ibuki just smirks at the threat. He asks if Xiao is referring to his static shock magic. The insult lands. Electricity begins to crackle violently around Ibuki as his temper flares. Xiao is taken aback by the sudden shift in pressure. Ibuki starts listing his credentials, mentioning his past in assassination unit called the Rose Garden. Ibuki lunges forward, shouting that if Xiao thinks this is just a static shock, then actual electrocution shouldn't be a problem. Xiao laughs, ready to finally get serious himself. Maiko screams for them to stop, but they're not listening. The two powers are about to collide in a massive blast of light and wind. Suddenly, Solo Pastry appears out of thin air, catching both of them by the heads mid-attack. Both students are completely shocked. He is absolutely livid. He asks what on earth they think they're doing and proceeds to slam their heads together with a satisfying thud. Maiko can only watch in terror. Solo Pastry stands between the two students, looking like he's just come back from a light stroll despite the explosions. Maiko is relieved to see him, but Xiao and Ibuki are both nursing some serious head bumps. Solo starts scolding them, especially Ibuki for not protecting the others like he was told. Ibuki tries to play it off, saying his hands just moved on their own because of all the killing intent in the air. Xiao watches them, realizing Solo isn't just some pushover teacher. He reflects on how Solo managed to stop them both so effortlessly, which really hit a nerve. Maiko is also impressed. She's never seen a teacher handle a situation like this with such ease. It's almost like he's not a normal teacher at all. She thinks about how Solo always seems a bit pathetic and clumsy at school, always smiling. But the person standing there right now is completely different. Xiao tells Solo to stay out of it. He claims Ibuki volunteered to be the sacrifice and demands they finish their match. Solo just sighs and tells Xiao that even if he wins, it's no use. The ritual is already over. He holds up a small, glowing core. He explains that this was the heart of the water golem Xiao summoned. But now, the core has returned to water, and the soul has gone back to where it belongs. The ritual failed completely. Xiao is furious, asking why Solo would do such a thing. Solo points out that if left alone, the golem would have rampaged through the nearest town looking for a body to inhabit. Solo explains that he sabotaged the ritual from the start. He swapped the alcohol Xiao bought, which he shouldn't have anyway since he's underage, with a completely different liquid using sleight of hand. Ibuki is stunned by the teacher's trickery. Solo hands Xiao back his ribbon, apologizing for not getting it to him sooner, though Xiao is hardly in the mood for apologies. Xiao realizes that Solo never had any intention of letting him succeed. He feels betrayed by the one person he thought might actually help him. He begs Solo to teach him the real magic to bring the dead back to life, desperate to see Luca again no matter what. Solo tells him it's impossible. He cites the 3 great magic taboos, wizarding rules that strictly forbid touching the realm of death. Xiao argues that the school only cares about apologies and covering things up. He's tired of hearing the same empty words from every adult he meets. He remembers how everyone told him to just embrace death and move on, like losing his best friend was something he should just grow out of. They told him it was a curse to the dead to try and bring them back, and that he needed to grow up and accept the tragedy. Xiao screams that he's heard all before. He thinks Solo is just another teacher trying to show him that his wish is impossible because he's too weak. He waits for the lecture about how bringing back the dead is wrong and bad, bracing himself for the usual teacher-like argument. But Solo just looks at him and says nah. He tells Xiao that bringing back the dead isn't really the issue here. Xiao is completely caught off guard. Even Ibuki and Maiko look like their brains just short-circuited. Solo just casually shrugs, like it's no big deal. Solo ponders for a moment, admitting that while it might be ethically wrong according to standard values, he personally thinks it's fine. He points out that humans die so easily, often for the most trivial reasons. He's seen it happen way too many times in his previous life. So, in his mind, shouldn't it be just as easy to bring them back? He looks at Xiao and says he knows all he really wants is to see his friend again. Maiko and Ibuki are speechless. This is definitely not the kind of thing a teacher is supposed to say. It's a pretty dangerous mindset for someone in his position. Solo clarifies that the witches' reunion is only bad because it requires a sacrifice. That's the part that makes it forbidden. Xiao doesn't care about being a good person. He's willing to become an evil wizard if it means he can see Luca one more time. Solo just sighs, seeing there's no helping his stubbornness. So Solo decides to make a deal. He tells Xiao that if Ibuki is okay with being a sacrifice, then he'll allow the ritual to proceed. There's a catch. Xiao only gets the final secret ingredient from Solo if he can win a fair duel against Ibuki. Solo even gives Ibuki a wink, clearly up to something. Ibuki is thrilled, feeling like the teacher is finally relying on his strength. He agrees instantly, shouting an enthusiastic, "Yes, sir." Xiao, skeptical, accepts. He figures he won't lose to someone who isn't even attending classes properly. Ibuki tells him not to underestimate him, just because he's a transfer. Solo adds that even with a sacrifice, the ritual isn't guaranteed to work if the caster is immature. He tells Xiao he needs to grow as a wizard first. And to do that, Solo tells him he should come to class and study. He even manages to trick Ibuki in hyping up his superb lessons, much to Maiko's confusion. Solo admits his lessons might not be that amazing, but it's the only path he can offer. He tells Xiao that if he ever tries to hurt an innocent person, the deal is off. Xiao's expression darkens as Solo warns him that the moment he crosses that line, he'll truly be an evil wizard. And if that happens, Solo says he'll have no choice but to kill him. Solo's gaze becomes incredibly sharp for a second, his killing intent filling the air. He asks Xiao if he really has a reason to kill, something that can justify taking a life. And just as quickly, the tension vanishes. Solo laughs it off, saying he was just kidding and that his duty as a teacher is to guide them, not kill them. Xiao is left completely shaken. Solo points out that if Xiao wants the ritual for real next time, he has to beat Ibuki. The two boys lock eyes, the rivalry officially reignited, but this time within a structured deal. Solo adds that if Xiao shows up to class, he'd really appreciate it. He starts walking away, leaving the students to process everything that just happened. Xiao remembers the teachers from the past who told him to just grow up. He looks at Solo's back, realizing this man is the first person to ever actually acknowledge his pain. A small, sad smile finally touches Xiao's lips. He lets out a soft laugh, feeling like maybe, just maybe, he can find a way forward after all. Tears stream down Xiao's face as he realizes he's never had a teacher actually say something like that to him before. It's a moment of profound realization that he's no longer alone in his grief. He looks at Solo with a mixture of awe and confusion. In reality, he understood what the other teachers were saying all along, that his wish was impossible and could never be validated. A flashback shows a young Xiao standing alone in a rainy cemetery, surrounded by silent headstones. The weight of his loneliness and world's indifference was almost too much to bear. He remembers burying his face in his hands, wishing for someone, anyone, to just listen to him and acknowledge his pain instead of telling him to move on. Back in the present, a sudden meow breaks the silence. Everyone looks over to see a large, round cat sitting in the path. Maiko and Ibuki are surprised to see it there. Solo is holding the cat, explaining that it got caught up in all the chaos from the ritual. He looks as calm as ever, while the others are still trying to process the day's events. Xiao looks thoughtful as he ponders the idea of school. He wonders what it'll be like if there'll be more people there as strong and strange as Solo and Ibuki. The group travels back on a wooden wagon, the horse plopping along the dirt road. Solo and students sit in the back, the heavy atmosphere of the morning finally starting to lift. Ibuki is excitedly talking about all the things he wants to do at school, studying, joining clubs, and learning from teachers. Xiao listens, his own resolve slowly forming. There's so much he wants to do now. Xiao looks ahead with a small, genuine smile. For the first time, he's actually looking forward to something. He's looking forward to school. Xiao remembers being an orphan with his best friend, Luca. All they had was each other, and they dreamed of making plenty of new friends together. Back in the present, Solo stands under the starry night, reflecting on the situation. Xiao calls out to him, breaking the silence. The next morning at school, the news of the recent events is already spreading among the students. To everyone's shock, Xiao actually shows up for class. His classmates can't believe he finally decided to grace them with his presence. He brushes off, telling them they're making too big of a deal out of it. He seems more relaxed now that the weight of the ritual is gone. Solo watches him from a distance, looking completely drained. Maiko Cecilia notices his exhaustion and wonders if he's okay. Solo admits to himself that he really thought things would be settled once he taught Xiao that ritual. But he's realized there are still 10 more students he has to worry about. Ibuki warns Xiao not to get cocky, reminding him that losing could mean a messy end. Xiao just laughs it off, confident he won't lose to anyone. Watching them, Solo recognizes that Xiao definitely has the talent to become a powerful wizard. Xiao shouts a loud good morning to everyone, acting like his usual self again. Meanwhile, Solo is still trying to figure out the deal with Xiao's strange eyes. Xiao throws an arm around Ibuki's shoulder, acting all buddy-buddy. Ibuki isn't having it and tells him to back off. Solo's attention shifts to Ibuki. You get the feeling that this transfer student is hiding something much bigger than he let on. He pulls Ibuki aside to ask about his background and why his grades were so bad before. Ibuki tries to play it cool, but the sweat on his face tells a different story. Solo just flashes a bright, fake smile and tells him that adults have their secrets. It's clear he's not pushing for answers yet, but he's watching. As he walks away, Solo reminds himself to be more careful about what he reveals. He knows he's already gone a bit too far with his display of power. Xiao catches up to him, wearing a genuine smile. He thanks Solo for bringing him back to Class D. He even tries to thank Ibuki, who just looks incredibly confused by the sudden change in attitude. Xiao explains that since Luca died, everyone has been treating him like he's fragile. He appreciates that Solo treated him normally. He lets out a loud, carefree laugh. For the first time in a long while, he actually looks happy. The school bell rings, and Miko stops by to remind Xiao about their upcoming training session during the break. Xiao apologizes for all the trouble he caused. He seems ready to accept what happened to Luca and actually try to move forward with the class. Solo listens, understanding exactly what the kid is going through. He knows those words of apology aren't just empty talk. Maiko chirps in, betting that Xiao and Ibuki are going to be best friends in no time. Ibuki just stares off into space, clearly not convinced. Looking back at their fight, Solo realizes that even in the heat of battle, Xiao looked like he was actually having fun. A small, subtle smile plays on Solo's lips as he watches his students interact. A few days pass, and life at the Orion School of Magic seems to have returned to some kind of normal. However, a new message arrives from the Department of Magic. It seems Solo managed to change Xiao's trajectory, but his job is far from over. A dark reminder of his true identity flashes through his mind. Number 0. The elite assassin from the Guild Kronos. This legendary killer has one massive weakness that he can never let anyone find out about. He has a pathologically weak constitution. The stress of mission has finally caught up to him, leaving him bedridden and miserable. Solo lies in his messy dorm room, looking like death warmed over. Beside him sits a book on how to be an instructor, highlighting how much of a struggle this teaching gig really is. He's got a legit fever and can barely keep his eyes open. The transition from assassin to teacher is clearly taking its toll. He groans, frustrated that he can't even use magic to help himself when he's this sick. At least it's his day off. He thinks back on the past month since he infiltrated the school. The fatigue from dealing with all these problematic kids has been piling up. He just wants to be left alone to rot his room today. No students, no magic, just peace. He stares at the Class 2D file. His actual mission is to stop every single one of these 12 students from dropping out and becoming evil wizards. He views each student as a lock, and he needs to find the specific keys to their hearts to keep them on the right path. His head starts spinning, just thinking about the work ahead. If it was just about grades, it would be easy, but these kids have real baggage. He knows that if he fails this mission, the Kronos Guild will be the first ones to come for his head. He doesn't really have a choice but to succeed. Memories of his childhood in the guild start to resurface. He was just a kid when he started this life of killing. In a flashback, a young Solo reports his latest successful hit over the phone. Even back then, he was a cold, efficient tool for the organization. His boss informs him that he's been promoted to number 19. The young boy looks out at the night sky, already trapped in a cycle of violence he never asked for. Back in his guild days as a kid, Solo, then known as number 24, stops by a bakery. The baker hands him his usual treat, noting he seems to be in a particularly good mood. With a smug grin, he corrects the man, announcing he's no longer number 24, but has been promoted to number 19. He even takes a playful jab at number 21, apologizing for overtaking him so quickly. The baker warns him not to get too cocky, but Solo is too busy enjoying his success. It's hard to believe it's already been almost 10 years since he joined. The old man remembers when Solo first arrived at the guild, a time when things were very different for the young boy. Solo reflects on how long he's been in this life. He's been around since he was only 6 or 7, an age when most kids are just starting school. He remembers being abandoned by his parents and left for dead. If the guild hadn't recognized his talent as a wizard and picked him up, he wouldn't be here today. That's the simple reason he joined the guild. He liked the work, and for a kid with nothing, it gave him a sense of purpose. The sound of the telephone was his favorite thing because it meant the boss valued his work. For the first time in his life, he felt seen. To him, the guild wasn't just a job. It was the only place he felt he truly belonged. His elders were always there to remind him that they were just chess pieces to the boss. He was free to work for whatever reason he wanted, but he was still just a tool. His life wasn't all assassinations and glory, though. Even as a top-tier kid killer, he was constantly coming down with colds due to his fragile body. Back in the present, Solo groans as he lies in bed, feeling another fever coming on. His body really hasn't changed much since he was a kid. He wakes up from the dream of his past, wondering if he really used to be such a cocky brat. The room's quiet, but his mind is racing. He thinks about Kronos, the guild founded to do away with evil by any means necessary. It's a dark legacy he's still tied to. He tells himself that stopping a kid from Class D from dropping out is strictly for his own sake. He's pretending to be a teacher for the sake of the guild. His train of thought is interrupted by a sound at the door. He isn't expecting visitors, especially not while he's sick. Outside, a group of students is trying to figure out if they found the right room. They're being anything but quiet. The door slams open, and Xiao, Maiko, and a bookie burst in with way too much energy. They come to check on their sick teacher. Solo is less than thrilled to have his quiet day off ruined. Maiko is impressed that he has a private room, but she's quickly horrified by the absolute mess he lives in. Solo tries to shoo them away so they don't catch his cold, but they're not listening. Xiao presents a get-well gift while a bookie judges Solo's all-black wardrobe. The bookie runs a finger over a shelf and is disgusted by the layer of dust. He can't believe Solo hasn't cleaned for at least a month. He decides to take matters into his own hands, declaring that he'll erase every last speck of grime from the room. He's like an old-fashioned mother-in-law on mission. Solo is practically begging him to leave, but Maiko just thinks he's being mean. They came all this way to worry about him, after all. Seeing their genuine concern, Solo finds himself slipping back into his kind teacher role, even if it's just an act. They set out the gifts they brought, a delicious-looking assortment of sweets and treats. Maiko explains that Kai, student number 06, has been practicing his baking and sent these along. It's a thoughtful gift from the whole class. Solo stares at an egg tart, surprised that even someone like him, the cold number 0, can have favorite foods. The students encourage him to eat up so he can get better and come back to school tomorrow. Their cheerfulness is a bit overwhelming. Even a bookie joins in, though he acts like he doesn't care what he eats. Solo settles on a slice of shortcake, looking a bit bewildered by the situation. As he eats, Solo realizes he isn't used to this. In the guild, he always ate alone or with cold colleagues who were just as detached as him. Having people actually look after him is a completely new sensation. He remembers the bright faces of students and their hope that he could be a good teacher. He can't understand why they would say things like that to him. He takes a bite and has to admit, it's actually really good. A strange, warm feeling starts to grow in his chest. It's something he's never felt before, and it's a little bit scary. He tries to brush it off, telling himself it's gross to eat food other people have touched. But his own internal laughter tells a different story. Before they leave, Mako mentions that there's something important she needs to ask him. She's noticed that he seems to genuinely want everyone in Class D to succeed. Solo tries to play it off as just doing his job as an instructor. But then she drops the bombshell. The midterm exams are coming up soon. She wants to know if he has planned to help him pass. Ibuki and Xiao explain stakes. At this school, failing the midterms can lead to repeating a year, or, even worse, immediate expulsion. The maniacal midterms are the first major hurdle for the students each year. They're notorious for being incredibly difficult. The reputation of Class 2D makes it even worse. Every single year, at least one student from their class ends up dropping out because of these tests. In the quiet of the classroom, the sharp sound of a snapping pen echoes through the room. Katlia has broken yet another one, a physical sign of the intense pressure she's putting herself under. Katlia, student number 02, looks down at her broken tool with a weary sigh. Below her, Panny, student number 04, is in a much better mood, hidden behind his cat mask as he gushes over a photo from the day before. Rex, student number 03, keeps his gaze focused and determined, seemingly unbothered by the noise. Beside him, Azu, student number 05, flashes a sly smile as she tries to convince Kai to use one of her mysterious magic potions as a secret ingredient in his baking. Kai, student number 06, politely declines the suspicious offer, wanting to rely on his own natural skills to make his food delicious. Below them, Nanato, student number 07, mumbles about his terrible luck, having managed to catch his finger in a door once again. Dante, student number 08, let out a long yawn, bored out of his mind, and waiting for something exciting to happen. Meanwhile, Totri, student number 10, finds peace in the corner of the room, whispering sweet words to her beloved plants. The calm is broken by Noel, student number 11, who is frantically yelling into his phone for a demon to show itself. Below him, Nagisa, student number 12, remains completely detached from the chaos, slowly sucking on a lollipop with a blank expression. Solo stands in the back of the classroom, watching the collection of eccentric students he's supposed to lead. He realizes that looming means he has to somehow get every single one of these difficult individuals to pass the midterm exams. The sheer weight of the responsibility makes him break into a cold sweat. He clutches his head, shouting internally that this task requires far more teaching ability than he actually possesses. To make matters worse, his fever seems to be returning. When Mako asks him how he's feeling about the exams, Solo can only stare into the distance in a state of shock. As Xiao warns her not to even bother asking, the teacher is left wondering if success is even remotely possible with his class. At the Orion School of Magic, the day starts with a big announcement. The midterm examinations are coming up next week. The requirements for each year are revealed, with the first years getting tested on their broom flying skills. But for the second years, things are much more intense. Their test will be a combat trial called Monster Subjugation. The speaker emphasizes that from the second year onwards, individual ability is key, and anyone who can't keep up will be forced to withdraw. Teachers are told they can't go easy on the students and must maintain a strict, solemn attitude during the training period. Solo starts breaking a sweat, worrying that individual ability is the one thing his chaotic class is missing. Ibuki notes that the exam contents are exactly what the other students were whispering about earlier. As they walk through the halls, he mentions that Class D's actual combat prowess is still a total mystery to the school. Solo watches them, knowing that if even one student drops out, his entire mission to save the world is basically over. He realizes he needs to change the outcome quickly, deciding that training them is the only way to prevent disaster. With just 1 week left, Solo comes up with a plan to give Class D a thorough Witch's Arsenal crash course. He figures teaching everyone the same foundational weapon spell is the most efficient way to get results, especially since it's a specialty. Ibuki is practically sparkling at the chance to train under him, but Solo tells him he's already skilled enough and doesn't need it. Standing outside the classroom, he wonders if the rest of the kids even have the motivation to pass the exam. He kicks the door open and is immediately met with a massive fireball from a salamander's fireplay spell. Solo dodges it without breaking a sweat, while Xiao and Ibuki watch the usual chaos unfold in the classroom. The room is a mess of students messing around with magic and food instead of actually preparing for the midterms. Miko Cecilia, who goes by Maiko, is practicing her transformation magic but ends up stuck looking like a half-finished cat girl. The students talk about how studying is actually kind of fun when they're all hanging out together. Solo is genuinely stunned by the lack of tension in the room, wondering if they even care about getting expelled. He pulls out his fake nice teacher smile and announces that he has a great idea to help them pass the exam. He proposes a special training class for everyone to master the Witch's Arsenal spell within a week. He leans into the enthusiastic act, claiming that efficiency is the key to making sure nobody fails. The class just stares back at him in dead silence, clearly not buying into the hype. Dante is the first to shut him down, telling Solo they don't need a teacher to tell them to do their best. Azu thinks the whole idea of special training sounds like a total drag, and Kai is just happy to skip out on it. Panny decides that if the others aren't doing it, he isn't either, leaving Solo absolutely shocked. Xiao watches the rebellion silently, while Solo tries to process the sudden rejection. Noel gives a dramatic refusal about being a lone wizard in the dark, and Nanato calls the training unlucky. Katlia politely declines, wanting to rely on her own strength, while Rex and Nagisa aren't interested in the slightest. Even Toturi is unsure of what to do, looking to the others for a cue on how to react. Maiko tries to get everyone to reconsider, but they just tease her for acting like a teacher's pet. Solo's inner monologue is screaming, wondering why they're making it so hard for him to help them. The class points out that he hasn't actually taught them a single real lesson in the entire month he's been there. Solo tries to justify his sudden change of heart, acting like he just wants them to be able to keep studying. Dante cuts him off immediately, looking him in the eye and calling him a total liar. He accuses Solo of only caring about getting a promotion away for Class D, calling the whole act dumb. The entire class stares Solo down, asking how his efficiency is actually supposed to help him individually. Solo's inner assassin is fuming, and for a split second, he genuinely considers blowing up the entire classroom. He manages to keep it together, realizing that getting fired wouldn't exactly help his mission. He walks away, venting about how frustrating it is that they won't just listen to a word he says. He decides to leave the exam up to them for now, but looking at the lack of skills, he's starting to get worried. Solo runs into the school's vice principal, Nico Robert, who's already judging him for looking like a walking corpse. Nico tells him that a teacher should always be the picture of composure and solemnity, even if they have massive bags under their eyes. Solo takes the opportunity to ask a serious question about his role as an educator. He's genuinely stumped on how to get his unruly class to actually listen to a single word he says. Nico doesn't offer any easy answers, telling Solo that a puzzle he has to solve himself, while reminding him that teachers have to keep studying too. Solo is left dejected by the lack of helpful advice, but then Xiao Shahar pops up to remind him he's still stuck with Class 2D. Xiao mentions how taking a break and heading to town was a good change of pace, and Solo can't exactly admit he's a hitman on a secret mission. The school's official motto is all about raising elite wizards, where evaluation and grades are everything. In this system, Class D is just seen as the leftovers, and most of the faculty has already given up on them. Nico insists that he's different from the other teachers and believes in teaching every student solemnly, regardless of their rank. He actually acknowledges the effort Solo is putting into reaching out to his class, which hits Solo harder than expected. Solo feels like a complete fraud, knowing his serious attitude is just a cover for his ulterior assassin motives. Nico leaves him with one last piece of wisdom. Teachers aren't taught by their peers, but by their own students. Solo stands there reflecting on that, while Xiao waits for him to snap out of it. He's still stuck on the problem of getting them to listen, while Miko, Cecilia, and Ibuki hang out in the background. Suddenly motivated, Solo decides he absolutely has to give them special training, so they don't fail the exam. Xiao points out the obvious flaw in that plan. The students of Class D naturally hate every teacher they've ever had. Miko, Cecilia chimes in, explaining that it's no wonder they're hostile given how poorly they've been treated by the staff. Xiao laughs off the idea that's just about bad grades or being treated offhandedly. He explains that Class D is a melting pot of troublemakers, fun seekers, and kids with complicated circumstances. He gives Solo a friendly tap on the shoulder and delivers the cold truth. The students simply don't trust him. Solo is hit by the irony. He was voted the most reliable hitman for 5 years straight, yet he can't gain the trust of a bunch of kids. Xiao argues that the real issue is a total lack of communication between the teacher and the class. Looking out at students, Solo realizes he doesn't actually know anything about them. Xiao gives him a mischievous grin, while Solo starts to feel the pressure of actually having to connect with them. He thinks about how much of a pain it's going to be, but he knows he can't ignore the importance of building rapport. He stares at the classroom door, wondering what on earth he's supposed to talk about with a bunch of teenage brats. Xiao calls him out for the brat's comment, but quickly pivots to a good idea he's been cooking up. As the class president, he takes it upon himself to be the bridge between the instructor and his classmates. The rest of the class can hear the commotion from inside and wonders what's going on now. Xiao kicks off the first round and announces that today's lesson is going to be something they can all play together. Solo and Ibuki peek in from the hallway, with Ibuki wondering if this is really the good idea Xiao's talking about. Solo is skeptical that just playing together will magically fix their trust issues. Xiao is full of confidence, grinning as he claims that everyone will listen to him because he's the president. The classroom erupts in a chatter, with everyone trying to figure out why they're suddenly playing games instead of studying. Dante is less than impressed, hearing that they're playing tag and immediately deciding he's not doing anything physical. Xiao isn't taking no for an answer, using brute force and his authority as leader to end the discussion right there. The scene shifts to the school ground where the chaos is about to begin. Solo finds himself designated as it for the game of tag, wondering if he's allowed to use magic to hunt them down. He spots some students from other classes passing by and wonders what their deal is. He overhears some faculty members talking about how Class D is a lost cause with zero chance of promotion. The teacher of Class 3B brags about how competitive society is, making Solo realize just how deep the divide between classes really goes. Xiao Shahar claps his hands, announcing that everything is ready to go. He knows the class is feeling unmotivated from being looked down upon, and he's determined to change that. Dante and some of the other students decide to join in, figuring it'll be a fun break from their usual lackluster studies. Xiao quickly lays out the rules. There's only one person running, and everyone else is it. The goal is to tag the target, and magic is definitely allowed. Then comes the big reveal. The target for this round is going to be their new teacher, Mr. Solo himself. Xiao adds a high-stakes condition. If Solo manages to evade them, the class has to obediently follow his special training plan for the midterm exam. Solo can't believe he was just roped into this. But the real hook is for the students. If they win, Solo has to buy them anything they want. The bookie and the others immediately start imagining all the loot they can get. Azu and her classmates are already listing off expensive magical items and ingredients they've been eyeing, their competitive spirits finally ignited. Xiao grins, maintaining a facade of neutrality as the class president. Solo realizes this has turned from a simple game into a full-blown confrontation. Despite being the leftovers of the school, the 13 students are motivated to prove they won't lose to a newbie instructor. Solo realizes he's actually managed to fire them up. Solo puts on his best teacher smile, accepting the challenge. If it means getting them to study, he'll play their game. The final parameters are set, a 1-hour time limit, the entire school grounds are in play, and brooms are fair game for the students. The bookie warns Solo that this isn't just tag, it's a battle. Since magic is allowed, things are about to get intense. To make it a fair game, the students strip Solo of his advantages, forbidding him from using movement or concealment magic, and banning him from using a broom. Solo prepares to make his move as the clock starts ticking. He's ready to show them what a professional can do, even with handicaps. Suddenly, a massive cloud of white smoke erupts, catching the students off guard. They wonder if the game has already taken a chaotic turn. It's Azu. She's thrown a specially made paralysis bomb, reminding the teacher that magic items were never off limits. She's aiming to end the game before it even begins. Solo didn't stick around to chat. Before anyone could blink, he completely vanished, leaving students staring at empty air. Azu was practically vibrating with excitement. Her experiment actually worked, and seeing Dante and the others twitching on the floor like fish out of water was just the icing on cake. Xiao stood back, watching the chaos with a smirk. To him, this whole match was a joke. There was no way the class stood a chance against a guy like Solo. Inside the central hall, the chase was in full swing, but Solo was hitting a wall. He was gasping for air, his body feeling like lead because he relied way too much on magic instead of actually walking. He leaned against the pillar, lungs burning. This trial of strength was turning out to be a pathetic display of how out of shape he really was. Solo started flipping through the student files to get a better handle on who he was dealing with. First up was student number 5, Azumare C. She was a weird case. Her combat skills were bottom of the barrel, but when it came to making potions and magic items, she was top tier, a total genius in a lab. Suddenly, a kid in a horned hood named Noel Campbell blocked his path, striking a dramatic pose and declaring checkmate. Beside him stood Nanato Mikazuki, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Noel didn't waste any time. He triggered a high-level darkness spell called Beloved Child's Retainer, designed to freeze his target's body in place. The kid was really leaning into the whole mastermind of the night bit. Solo just stood there, wondering if the kid realized how much he was overacting. Solo checked Noel's file, ranking second to last with grades that were basically a disaster. It was hard to take the Chinibu act seriously when his report card looked like that. And there was Nanato, the kid in the mask. He was a complete enigma. His grades were all over the place, making it impossible for Solo to figure out where his true talent actually lay. As Solo was pondering, a voice boomed from above. Dante Dalton had found him, and he looked ready to tear the place apart. Dante came barreling in like a freight train, launching a massive attack with a shout that echoed through the hall. He wasn't holding back one bit. He unleashed a witch's arsenal spell, surprising even Solo with how much raw power he was putting behind it. The strike was aimed right at Solo's head. The impact was massive. The air shrieked as the magic collided, sending debris flying everywhere and nearly leveling the corridor. Solo stared at the destruction, a bit stunned. For a class that was supposedly worthless, the gap in power between their raw magic and their refined skills was actually pretty terrifying. Dante tried to play it cool, acting like it was just a lucky hit, but he was clearly rattled that Solo had managed to walk away from it without scratch. He started shouting that he didn't need any stupid training, claiming he was already a pro at Witch's Arsenal. It was the typical bravado of a kid who didn't want to admit he was outclassed. Suddenly, another student stepped up. Kai Alvin took a deep breath, focusing his energy for a fire spell while the others yelled at him to actually do something. Kai unleashed a massive wave of fire, the Salamander's fire play. The hallway turned into an absolute furnace in an instant. Solo reappeared behind them, completely unfazed, and scolded them for starting a fire in the hallway. He looked more annoyed about the safety hazard than the actual attack. Before they could respond, Solo vanished again, leaving them yelling at the empty hallway. He was done playing games for now. Solo kept running, his mind racing as fast as his feet. He realized Kai's power was huge, but his control was non-existent. If they could just fix that, the kid would be a beast in the exams. He checked Kai's file next. The kid had a natural gift for fire magic, but without discipline, all that power was just a disaster waiting to happen. Eventually, Solo found himself in the school's quiet greenhouse, a lush oasis away from the chaos of the chase. It was the perfect place to hide and catch his breath. He was absolutely spent, wheezing and sweating like he just run a marathon. He desperately needed a break before his body just gave up on him entirely. As he moved deeper into the greenery, he spotted a girl with long hair, humming to herself. She seemed completely oblivious to the game of tag happening outside. It was Totally Leander, and she'd just finished repotting a whole batch of flowers. She looked incredibly proud of her handiwork as she stood among the blossoms. The flowers were dance fleurs, and they were literally swaying and humming as if they were celebrating their new pots. It was a weirdly peaceful scene. Totally nearly jumped out of her skin when she realized Solo was standing there. Solo, on the other hand, was too tired to even stand up straight, let alone act like a teacher. She quickly stammered that she wasn't trying to catch him. She just really wanted to talk to him about something important. Solo was too exhausted to do anything but listen. Totally took a deep breath and blurted out that she actually wanted to take his special training because she was terrified of failing the midterm exam. But there was a catch. She didn't want to learn Witch's Arsenal. She wanted to focus on what she really loved, plant magic. Solo was caught off guard by the request. She started explaining that while she wasn't good at combat magic, she could control branches and make plants grow with ease. Her eyes lit up as she talked about her hobby. She admitted she wasn't great at experimenting or making potions like Azu, but her true passion was simply looking after flowers and understanding how they worked. She even confessed that she'd struggled with the basics as a first year, which made her want to get better at the one thing she actually felt an affinity for. Solo listened, genuinely intrigued. Solo realized that every wizard has their own preference, a specific type of magic they're naturally wired to be better at. For Totally, it was plants, and forcing her into a generic mold was just a waste of time. He started thinking about the rest of the class, Xiao with his wind, Ibuki with electricity, even Mika with her transformation magic. They all already knew where their strengths were. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. His plan to teach everyone the same foundation was efficient for him, but absolutely terrible for the students. It was the wrong way to build a real team. Solo's face paled as he thought about the workload ahead. To do this right, he'd have to personally oversee the individual training for all 12 students. That's 12 completely different styles he'd have to master and teach. Totally looked at him, worried that she was asking for too much special treatment. Solo just sighed, realizing that being a teacher was going to be way more work than he ever signed up for. Totally just gave him this sad little smile, saying she wasn't worth the effort. It was a pretty depressing thing for a kid to say, and it clearly didn't sit right with Solo. Solo just stood there, staring at her. He didn't say anything, but you could tell he was starting to realize just how much these kids have been beaten down by everyone else. The quiet moment was shattered when this guy in fancy robes strutted in, demanding to know where his dance fleurs went. This was the Class B teacher, and he looked like a real piece of work. He looked at the freshly potted plants and completely lost his cool. Apparently, those were supposed to be for hands-on practice for his superior Class B, and Totally had just ruined his plan. Totally was practically shrinking into herself, stuttering out apologies while the guy just kept loitering over her. He wasn't having any of it. He leaned in close, his face twisting into something genuinely nasty. He realized she was from Class D, and that's when the real insults started flying. Solo watched from the shadows, his eyes narrowing. He was finally starting to get it. Why these kids were so defensive, and why they didn't trust anyone wearing a teacher's badge. Outside, Dante and Kai were still frantically searching for Solo, having no idea that their teacher was currently having a crisis of conscience in a greenhouse. Pretty much the entire class had gathered now, including Azu and Noel. They were all wondering where their target had disappeared to. They started zeroing in on the greenhouse, wondering if Solo was actually trying or just messing with them. Time was almost up, and the tension was building. They were all surprised by Solo's sudden interest in training them. Usually, he just gave them the bare minimum effort and never got mad when they didn't pay attention. Ibuki and Nanato shared a look. They suspected he was only doing this to get a promotion, but something about the way he'd been acting today felt different. They remembered how Solo had talked about Witch's Arsenal being the most efficient way to teach. It was all about what was easier for him, not what was best for them. To them, he was just another teacher who didn't actually see them for who they were. They were just the problem class to be dealt with as quickly as possible. They figured if they could just coast through the exam, they'd be fine. They'd been treated like leftovers for so long that they'd just started believing it. But back in the greenhouse, the Class B teacher was really laying into Totally, and his words were getting nastier by the second. He called them leftovers and accused Totally of trying to sabotage the real students. He was literally towering over her, trying to make her feel as small as possible. Totally was on the verge of tears as he called her a scrap. Dante and the others arrived just in time to hear the insult, and you could see the shock on their faces. Just when it seemed like the guy wouldn't stop, Solo finally spoke up. He told him to shut up, his voice cold enough to drop the temperature in the room. Everyone froze. The Class B teacher looked like he'd just been slapped, and Totally was staring at Solo like he'd grown a second head. Solo stepped forward, his eyes locked on the arrogant teacher. He told the guy to quit nagging her, and the look on his face meant he wasn't asking. The Class B teacher was sputtering, demanding to know who this newbie teacher thought he was. He was clearly used to being the biggest bully on campus. Solo didn't even acknowledge him. He was too busy thinking about why these kids lacked motivation. It wasn't because they were lazy. It was because of people like this guy. Solo admitted to himself that he wasn't much better. He'd only seen them as targets to be managed, not as actual students with their own potential. He knew he was a fake teacher, but even a fake had a job to do. If he did become a real teacher to Class D, it would get in the way of his real job as an assassin. His eyes took on a sharp, dangerous light behind his glasses. It was time to show this guy what a real lesson looked like. Solo raised his hand and channeled his magic. In an instant, a massive vine-covered fist manifested in the air. He was using Toturi's own specialty, plant magic. He looked at Toturi and asked if she still wanted him to teach her plant magic. The look on his face was a mix of a teacher's smirk and an assassin's focus. He told her to pay close attention to his example. He was about to perform a high-level spell called Unbreaking Dawn, and he wanted her to see every detail. The plant fist lunged forward with a roar. It was a massive display of power, controlled with the kind of precision that only someone like Solo could pull off. The arrogant teacher barely had time to scream before the vine fist slammed into him. The impact was deafening, sending a shockwave through the entire greenhouse. The students were absolutely floored. Seeing their worthless class being defended with such overwhelming power was something they'd never even dreamed of. Solo gave her this dark, satisfied smile and told her she'd done a good job watching. He was finally starting to look like a real teacher, even if he was a bit of a scary one. The greenhouse was a total wreck, and the Class B teacher was out cold on the floor. The other students were still trying to process the fact that Solo had just one shot at another teacher. Solo walked away like it was no big deal, but Toturi was just standing there in awe. She realized that he had actually stood up for her. Solo started sweating a bit, wondering if he'd overdone it. He really didn't want to get fired on his first week, especially not for beating up a colleague. Suddenly, the bells rang out across the school grounds. The game of tag was officially over, and Solo had managed to evade everyone until the very last second. Dante was fuming that they hadn't been able to catch him, while Solo was just trying to look like he hadn't just committed a minor assault in a greenhouse. True to their word, the whole class agreed to take his special training. They were still suspicious, but they were also a lot more curious about what else he could do. Toturi was beaming, asking if this meant she'd finally get her plant magic lessons. She was practically sparkling with excitement now. The other students were confused. They thought they were all supposed to be learning Witch's Arsenal together as part of some efficient plan. But Solo just turned his back on them and announced that he'd changed his mind. They weren't going to be doing that generic training anymore. He was going to teach them for real. Solo looked around at his students. If they wanted to learn magic that actually fit them, instead of that generic Witch's Arsenal, then he was going to give it to them. He was ready to stop taking the easy way out. With a look of determination, he announced that he would provide special, individual training for every single person in the class. He was taking full responsibility for their progress from here on out. The students were stunned, but they couldn't exactly argue. They had made a promise to follow his training if they lost the game of tag, and Solo had clearly won that bet. Maiko, student number 9, squinted at him. She noted that this sudden burst of passion was totally out of character for him. Solo started to sweat, realizing he'd let his polite teacher mask slip. Xiao let out a laugh, teasing Solo for pretending to be a cool cat earlier. He'd seen right through the act, and it seemed like the rest of the class had too. In their minds, they saw Solo as this little cat trying to act tough. Xiao was having a field day with it, while Solo just wished he could disappear back into the shadows. Maiko continued her analysis, calling him sarcastic and unsociable with dead eyes. She definitely didn't buy the smiley persona he'd been trying to sell them since day one. Solo's inner monologue was screaming. As an assassin, he needed a non-suspicious persona, but he clearly failed to fool a bunch of teenagers. His perfect teacher act was a total bust. The class debated how teachers were supposed to act, with the bookie mentioning that teachers should always be smiling in front of their students. Solo realized he'd been relying way too much on his reference books. Surprisingly, the students admitted they preferred the real him they saw in the greenhouse, the one who actually got angry when they were disrespected. They didn't want a puppet teacher. They wanted him. Xiao and Maiko encouraged him to show more of his true self. They believed it would actually help the class bond with him. For the first time, they addressed him by his name, Solo Pastry. Solo was left speechless. He'd spent his whole life hiding his true nature, and yet these kids were asking him to let them see it. It was a completely new experience for an assassin. Xiao revealed that the whole game of tag was a scheme to get Solo's true nature to slip out. It was a huge success, and now the real training could finally begin. Toturi was still on cloud 9, thanking Solo again for helping her out. Her smile was genuine, and it seemed like she was finally starting to believe in herself a little more. The rest of the class started shouting out what they wanted to learn. From darkness magic to better fire control, everyone was suddenly eager to get started. It was a complete turnaround from earlier. As the class chatted, Solo noticed someone watching from the branches of a nearby tree. There was still one student who wasn't part of the celebratory mood. It was Rex, student number 4. With a defiant look in his eyes, he made it clear that he wasn't won over yet. He told Solo flat out that he'd never approve of him, no matter what he did. The Orion School of Magic is buzzing with the news of the upcoming midterm exam, where the main task is monster subjugation. Failing means more than just a bad grade. It means getting kicked out. Solo, the teacher of Class 2D, knows exactly what's on the line. If the students drop out, they're destined to become the world-ending villains he's trying to stop. While he's stressing about the future, his students seem way more relaxed, completely unaware of the dark fate their teacher is trying to steer them away from. Ever since that tag game, the class has done a total 180 and started treating Solo like a buddy instead of a terrifying assassin. He can feel his authority slipping away as they constantly laugh and mock the scary character he was trying to play before. Solo is fuming because they've clearly mistaken his attempt to be a good teacher for him being a total softie. As the school gears up for the midterm, even top-ranked students from other classes are starting to feel the pressure of the upcoming test. Out on the school grounds, Solo gathers his group to officially explain the rules for their monster hunting mission. He breaks it down. They're heading into a monster habitat, but the catch is they won't know their specific targets until the very last second. To get them ready, Solo drops a massive rock golem in front of the class and tells his top student, Xiao, to take it out. Xiao doesn't even break a sweat, absolutely pulverizing the giant monster into a pile of pebbles with a single move. Without missing a beat, Solo calls up the next two students, Katlia and Panny. Katlia looks cool and collected, while Panny is practically vibrating with excitement for his turn to show off. The two of them launch a perfectly coordinated magical assault on a next-trained golem. Between Katlia's combat magic and Panny's summoning, the poor monster doesn't stand a chance and gets absolutely wrecked. Solo is genuinely impressed. Based on pure talent alone, these kids would easily be in the elite class A or B. But he remembers why they're in his class. One is a disaster in the classroom, and the other just treats everything like a playground. Next up is Rex Red, the student who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else but in a training session. Rex straight up tells Solo he doesn't need any special training and asks to be Lego right then and there. Solo is already losing his cool, but the girls in class chime in that Rex is basically a ghost who never talks to anyone. He's the ultimate lone wolf, keeping a wall between himself and the rest of the class at all times. Solo starts putting the pieces together, realizing Rex has been turning down everyone's attempts to be friendly, from sweets to magic potions. He's clearly strong enough for the exam, but his antisocial attitude is going to be a total headache for a teacher. Rex throws a terrifying glare at anyone who stares too long, leaving poor Toturi shivering in her boots. With the initial tests over, Solo announces that he's splitting the class into 3 distinct groups. The goal-cleared group is his elite squad, Xiao, Katlia, Panny, Ibuki, and the runaway Rex. Then there's the almost there group, including Kai, who just need a little more work to hit the passing mark. Finally, there's the hopeless squad, where the girls are already making excuses for why they're terrible at combat magic. Between Noelle's weird crystal blood and Toturi's complete lack of confidence, this group is a total disaster zone. Solo realizes he has no choice but to kick off a brutal special training session to save them from failing. He tells the group that the secret to getting stronger is actually pretty simple. It's all about raw magic power. He compares it to working out or practicing an instrument. If you want to get good, you just have to do it over and over. To help them train, he releases a swarm of miniature golems and tells them to use their magic like their lives depend on it. Solo gets a little too enthusiastic during his lecture, shouting about how imagination and visualization are the keys to a powerful spell. He starts rambling about killing intent and exploiting vitals, totally forgetting he's supposed to be a teacher and not an assassin. He snaps back to reality and checks on Kai, who's trying to use his signature Salamander's fire play to cook some fried rice. Kai serves up a plate, but Solo's first bite reveals it's undercooked, chewy, and honestly a bit of a mess. Solo explains that the real point is control. It's much easier to master magic when you connect it to a hobby like cooking. He tells Kai they're moving on to Ed Tarts next, then heads off to give the rest of the class their own individual lessons. A few days pass, and Toturi is out in the yard trying to summon every bit of power she has for a plant fist spell. But instead of powerful attack, she only manages to sprout a few tiny, sad weeds while feeling like a total failure. Solo watches from the sidelines, seeing that while she's got plenty of motivation, her actual magical results are still non-existent. Toturi is finally starting to enjoy the lessons, shouting about how much fun she's having. Solo watches her, knowing he has to keep this positive momentum going so she doesn't slip back into depression. She's practically glowing as she practices, and Solo can't help but notice how genuine her excitement is. But despite the progress, Solo's own expression is totally dead as he stares off into space in silence. Toturi starts opening up about why she was so unmotivated before, admitting that she's been struggling since her first year. She explains that as she fell behind, her teachers eventually just gave up on her, which made her even more scared to even try. Solo listens as she confesses that she eventually got so fed up that she just wanted to be done with class entirely. She reveals that despite giving up on class, she was actually doing independent study the whole time. She proudly shows off that she managed to make a fire poppy bloom, something she couldn't even dream of doing back in her first year. Solo remembers the scene vividly. Toturi's eyes sparkle as she shares her real dream. She wants to become a great wizard so she can go back and take over her family's homestead. She shows Solo a picture of the place, a beautiful farm filled with herbs and flowers used for magic potions. Solo realizes that her motivation was never the problem. She just needed a reason to care that actually mattered to her. He thinks to himself that she has a perfectly wholesome, honest dream, and that her bad attitude was just a mask for her frustration. But a dark thought crosses his mind. If she's such a good kid now, why on earth is she destined to become an evil wizard in the future? Toturi snaps him out of it by asking about Rex, and Solo is caught off guard by the sudden shift in topic. They keep talking, but Solo can't shake the feeling that there's something he's missing about these students' supposedly dark futures. Toturi looks a bit nervous as they discuss Rex, while Solo notes that the guy's attitude is definitely a major problem for the class. He quickly shifts the focus back to training since the midterm is literally right around the corner. The day before the exam appears on the screen. The final day of prep arrives, and Kai is letting loose with a massive salamander's fire play, spelled to show how much he's improved. Kai is absolutely stoked, shouting, "I did it," as the rest of the class cheers him on for finally getting it right. But the hopeless five are still having a rough time, looking completely overwhelmed as a giant training golem looms over them. Solo is looking pretty exhausted himself, watching as one of the girls collapses in tears because she still feels like she's no good at magic. The morning of the midterm exam finally arrives, and the faculty is making all the last-minute announcements in main hall. Solo is slumped over his desk in faculty room, looking like he hasn't slept in a week as he counts the 5 students who still haven't cleared the training goals. He lets out a heavy sigh, realizing that being a teacher is way more exhausting than being a world-class assassin ever was. Ibuki is standing nearby, looking as cool and mysterious as ever, and he asks Solo what he really thinks of the bad students. As they walk down the hall together, Solo admits he's starting to have some major regrets about how he handled things at the start. Ibuki brings up the fact that Toturi and Miko actually have a natural aptitude for specific types of magic, even if they haven't mastered them yet. He reminds Solo about the time he predicted Miko would eventually become a master of transformation magic. Solo asks if that was just a lucky guess, or if it actually came from one of Ibuki's precognition fragments. Ibuki confirms it, adding that he also saw a vision of Toturi becoming a powerful plant magic user in the future. And it doesn't stop there. He mentions that Pani was also destined to be a great summoner, which he's already starting to show. Solo nearly loses his mind, demanding to know why Ibuki didn't just tell him all of this from the very beginning. He starts pacing, realizing that if Ibuki knows this much about their potential, then the evil wizard prophecy might be a lot more complicated than it seems. Ibuki explains that precognition isn't a movie, it's just fragments, and they also saw that one of the 12 will be a master fire magic user. Solo's mind immediately jumps to Kai, and he starts putting the pieces together. He looks at the group of students, realizing that while they have the potential for greatness, the path to becoming evil is still a mystery. Ibuki notes that there are even some students who are total overachievers, excelling at everything they touch. Solo looks at him, wondering how such ordinary-seeming kids could possibly end up as the monsters described in the prophecy. He thinks it's absurd because, after actually getting to know them, they just seem like a bunch of regular, rowdy teenagers. As they keep walking, Ibuki starts talking about the bigger picture, the school, the country, and the darkness that might be creeping in. He explains that the school's hands are tied because if the truth about the Department of Magic leaked out, it would be a total scandal. Then he drops the darkest bombshell yet, the government's secret egg-smashing policy, where they kill off children who are destined for evil while they're still young. Ibuki and Solo walk through the stone corridors, Ibuki explaining that the public never learns of the egg-smashing because the country keeps it strictly confidential. He reflects on the complex nature of evil, how some are born to it while others are driven by circumstance, and asks if they should be targeting the sources of corruption rather than just the individuals. Stopping by a large arched window, Ibuki warns Solo that his growing attachment to the students will soon turn into a dangerous sympathy. Solo remains silent, his expression unreadable behind his glasses as Ibuki reminds him that as assassins, sympathy is the one thing they cannot afford to have. Ibuki coldly reiterates their mission. Any student they can't keep from dropping out must be eliminated, and Solo must improve his teaching skills to better monitor them. Ibuki looks down at the rowdy Class D students below, noting that while Solo might feel friendly toward them, his own interest is purely superficial. Solo responds with a flat, weary gaze, assuring Ibuki that he understands the gravity of their situation perfectly well. He recalls his promise to kill them the moment they turn evil, wondering if a professional like himself is even capable of feeling sympathy Ibuki fears. Shaking off the heavy mood, Ibuki brings up the upcoming midterm exam, worried that the problem 5 might fail and be forced out of school. He mentions that he has one particular idea to help him pass, though he admits it might be cheating a little. The scene shifts to the Orion School of Magic's transportation door room, where the second-year students are gathering in their mandated athletic wear for the test. Toturi looks pale with anxiety, her fighting spirit nowhere to be found, while Miko tries to bolster her confidence before the exam starts. Their nerves aren't helped by the snickering students from other classes who openly mock Class D for their reputation as failures and future dropouts. The chattering stops as Vice Principal Nico Robert takes the stage with a microphone, officially announcing the start of midterm. He explains that monster subjugation is a fundamental duty for any wizard, and that this exam serves as vital preparation for the real-world requests they'll eventually handle. Lifting a set of enchanted keys, the vice principal explains that each class will be sent to a different, specific location for their assessment. With a heavy click and a groan of stone, the door leading to Class D's designated exam area begins to swing open. The students of Class D look back at Solo one last time before stepping through the shimmering portal into the unknown. They materialize in a muggy jungle, a humid, overgrown wilderness filled with massive prehistoric flora and strange, glowing fungi. The girls huddle together, taking in the intimidating sight of the giant jungle as they prepare for the hunt. Solo stands before them, his voice echoing through the dense trees as he officially declares the commencement of the midterm examination. He displays a magical diagram of their target, the Gormandrone, a large, moth-like creature with intimidating markings on its wings. Solo warns them that these monsters have been overpopulating the jungle and attacking travelers, making their extermination a matter of public safety. The rules are straightforward: find and subdue the creatures. Each successful subjugation earns them 1 point toward their grade. The students' confidence shatters when Solo reveals they need 10 points to pass, meaning they'll have to take down 10 monsters each before sunset. A final reminder echoes through the jungle. The task must be approached with solemnity, and they have only a few hours to complete it. The instructions emphasize that while they should pick fights they can win, this is a live combat exercise where anything can happen. However, during a job, the unexpected may occur. The guide warns as a sudden, massive splash ripples through a nearby pool. As if on cue, a gargantuan, scaly monster far beyond their skill level emerges from the trees, towering over the terrified students. Todori and Miko are frozen in place, their eyes wide with terror as the beast's long tongue flicks out in anticipation of a meal. For those who can't handle the pressure, Solo reveals the disappearings, emergency escape items that will transport them back to safety but result in an automatic failure. The morale of Class D hits rock bottom as the students stare at the rings, the fear of the jungle outweighing their desire to pass. Solo watches them with a piercing gaze, realizing that their motivation has completely vanished in the face of such overwhelming odds. He panics internally, realizing he has no idea how to inspire a group of teenagers or get them excited about a life-threatening challenge. Just as Solo prepares to signal the start of the exam, he notices a shift in the air as some of the students step forward. A sudden, powerful wham resounds through the clearing as the first monster is slammed into the earth with a decisive blow. To Solo's surprise, Xiao and Ibuki are already in position, their wands drawn and eyes focused as they take the lead. The rest of Class D, including Kai, can only stare in disbelief as the two strongest members of their group make the first move. Xiao adjusts his eye patch and gives the others a sharp, confident smirk, asking if they have any intention of letting the whole class pass. Ibuki looks back at the students, reminding them that standing still is the only guaranteed way to fail and questioning the value of their recent training. Miko and Todori are snapped out of their stupor, realizing that Xiao and Ibuki aren't willing to let the other class's insults define them. Fueled by a sudden surge of spiteful determination, Miko clenches her fist and vows to prove everyone wrong, leading the charge into the deep jungle. Xiao and Miko lead the charge, with Miko shouting, "That's right, let's go, everyone," as they sprint toward the monsters. The rest of the class follows suit, jumping into action with renewed energy. Even the more reserved students find their resolve, but one complains he isn't scared at all. Miko waves back at Solo, shouting that she'll see him later as she disappears into the dense foliage. Solo can only watch in bewilderment as his class transforms before his eyes. Solo smiles faintly, thinking to himself that for a group of leftovers, they certainly have a lot of spirit when they're properly motivated. He notices one student hasn't left yet. Rex Red, student number 04, stands there, his arms crossed and his eyes sharp beneath his patterned bandana. Rex makes it clear that he isn't following the group's lead. He prefers to work alone and at his own pace, finding the idea of moving together for an exam to be stupid. Rex admits that while he understands Solo's logic, the teacher's attitude still irritates him. Solo's sweat drops, realizing he hasn't won everyone over just yet. Closing his eyes briefly, Rex warns Solo not to get a wrong idea. He hasn't accepted him as their teacher, regardless of what the other students think. Before walking away, Rex fixes Solo with a piercing, serious stare, asking if the man truly has the resolve to remain the teacher for a class as troubled as Class D. Rex vanishes into the jungle, leaving Solo alone with his thoughts. A voice from a nearby communication device reminds Solo to refrain from advising the students once the exam has begun. Solo adjusts his glasses, his mind racing. He wonders what exactly Rex meant by that question and what kind of darkness the boy is hiding. Back at the school, Vice Principal Nico Robert watches the magical monitors, noting the unusual developments with a thoughtful HM. Nico Robert observes that last year, many students dropped out during this very exam. He wonders what kind of abilities this year's second years will ultimately display. A new voice interrupts his thoughts. Julius, the head teacher of Year 2, approaches with a polite greeting, his hands clasped behind his back. Nico is surprised to see him, having thought Julius was away on a long-term business trip. Julius simply explains that he managed to finish his work earlier than expected. Julius offers a bright, almost too perfect smile, claiming that missing the chance to watch over his students would make him a poor head teacher. It turned their attention to the monitors. Nico reports that several Class S students have already reached the 10-point goal, showing high competitive spirit. However, the news isn't all positive. A few students from Classes B and C withdrew from the exam before it even started, unable to face the monsters. Julius asks specifically about Class D, his fingers twitching as if he's anticipating a particular answer. Nico notes that Class D usually has the most dropouts, but this year is a rare exception. Not a single one of them withdrew before the start of the test. Julius gazes at the screen, showing the energetic Class D students, a thin, knowing smile playing on his lips as he remarks on how excellent the situation has become.